Yes.
All right, it is now 7:04 by my handy dandy timepiece. We'll call the meeting to order. The first agenda item is agenda changes. Any agenda changes? I have one, but any from anybody else? None from anybody else. I move.
Well, hold on, sorry, just finance, or budget review-ish in here
I
somewhere.
thought it was in there.
Or is it?
It was supposed to be.
It's not there.
It's not.
All right, so budget review under new or unfinished? Let's do unfinished because we started
There we
it.
go.
Budget.
I got it there.
And then I need to add the roller hockey club is here to make a pitch to us about their program. And if nobody objects, I'd like to move that right before board issues. Because I've got some youngsters here tonight. Is that all right?
Yes.
No objections? All right, we'll move that in there. So you
Roller
guys-
hockey?
Roller hockey, right at, yes sir, right after public comment to board issues. No other agenda changes, we'll move on to public comment. Did anybody sign up for public comment? You did? Mr. Shane Hoffmeyer. It's you, sir.
Awesome. So I've been attending the meetings for the last, I don't know, year and a half, something like that. You know, I've heard several things, and I've read a few things in the newspaper to lead me to believe that possibly a few of the commissioners don't support the maintenance and operations levy in the future. I don't know that that's fact. I just, being that I've been led to believe that, I can see how other people can see that as well. So I guess I just wanted to point out, you know, I do own a house in the district, and you know, I don't think that makes me any more of a taxpayer than somebody that rents. I think a landlord definitely passes that on. But I do get that tax statement in the mail every year, so I get to see, you know, about $1,800 of taxes a year, property tax here. I think about 1,000 of that goes to the school, which for somebody that has a kid in school, I guess that's a bargain. It's a lot of money, but probably a bargain. $150 a year for a hospital that I swore off. We'll leave that for another day. The maintenance and operations levy for the whole year cost me $26 a year. I certainly think it's a hell of a bargain. Best bargain on my statement, I think. So I hope that the board supports that going forward. But I guess I would hope that everybody would be on board with figure out a way to make this place more sustainable. And I guess to do that, how do you get more people through the door? You know, I guess what is fact is the maintenance and operations levy is your guys' for the next couple of years. So I would hope that while that income's there, you know, maybe some investments can be made in, you know, figuring out how to be more sustainable, such as, you know, if a splash pad could be thrown out there on that piece of concrete, you know, maybe the money's not there to buy one, could one be rented for a year? You know, a water slide possibly. Seems like there's a lot of ways to get more people through the door, and maybe this place could pay for itself a little more. And I think that would definitely be a good thing. The other thing, I think, looks like the city will probably have a new sewage treatment plant up and going in the next 3 years. We'll see. You know, I know that they would like to incorporate a splash pad into the hardscape of that. And, you know, if there was a way for the Parks District to somehow rebuild that relationship they used to have with the city. And, you know, I know the city would love to have a splash pad. I highly doubt they'd like to get in the business of maintaining it and staffing lifeguards and everything. It's a lot to think about, but it would be really cool if there was more options than just jump in the water. That's all I have. So
Thank you. And we actually, I think I can speak for everybody on this board, but I think this board is dedicated to the M&O levy and to growing this district and putting us in a positive direction. I know there's been some negative press out there, but I can speak for, if I may, for everybody on this board that all 4 members you see tonight and the 5th member that unfortunately could not be here and is actually very upset about it, we're all very dedicated towards,
That's very good to hear.
Getting
Maybe the
another
newspaper
levy.
We'll put that in print someday.
Not tonight. So,
Rare.
but thank you very much, Shay.
Absolutely, thank you.
Any other public comment? Done with public comment? Then we'll go on to Mr. John.
I'm sent over here, so I don't have people looking at the back of my head. My name is John Clark. I'm here to represent the parents and the kids who are interested in revitalizing not our program, but NWPRD's roller hockey program. At one time, this was a supported and funded by NWPRD program. I want that to be absolutely clear. It's not our program. It's not a new one. It's an NWPRD one. Roller hockey began back in 2008. There was a fellow named Craig who was coordinating the program at the time. Initially started with 5 to 9 kids, and they were practicing in at various locations, from the tennis courts to OLF to other outdoor activities. And then eventually, once the program got up and running, we started using the roller barn, which then the NWPRD was paying for. Practices were a regularly scheduled event. And so with the consistency and the word of mouth and the support that they got from the NWPRD, the program grew to about 25 to 30 regularly attending members. So it was a highly functioning, and it was a highly effective and successful program. It was open to ages from 5 to 18. They were doing a lot of intramural games, parents on kids games. It was a lot of fun. It was for 2 hours on Sundays between 1 and 3. And with the use of the roller barn, it became a year-round, any type weather event. There was no limitations whatsoever. So it lasted for a while, but because of a lack of motivation from the initial coordinator, it kind of dwindled at sometime around 2009, early 2010.
When did it start?
2008.
2008?
Yes, ma'am.
So it lasted like 3 years.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So recently there's been a renewed interest in getting the program back up and running from several kids who were members before. I've heard through other kids that were members before and various parents that they want to get this program back up and running. Somehow it's fallen through the cracks. It's not even been a discussion item for quite some time. But now they really want to get it back on its feet. So in November 2010, Marcy and the coach Les, got together with the parents and kids who were interested and started having practices on Sundays at 1 to 3 in the roller barn. So currently, we've got these kids here with an addition of about 5 or 6 more who regularly show up for practices. Les comes over. He's a volunteer coach. Marcy's a volunteer coordinator. And we have practices. So that's where we are right now. Unfortunately, we're not using the roller barn any longer because they're requiring $50 each time that we use it. So currently, we're using the outdoor area at Hillcrest Elementary. So that's where we're practicing right now. So the potential for the program is huge. Like I said, at one time we had 25 to 30 members. They were playing intramural games. There was parents on kids games, and there's also an opportunity to have competition type games with other programs in the region. Skagit Skate has a program. Bellingham has 2 programs. Arlington has a program. They've all expressed interest in playing games locally, coming here and playing games, and us going there and play games. So that's where we were. That's where we are right now. And so some of the things that I would like to discuss with you guys, the reasons that we would like to get this program revitalized and how it would benefit the community and NWPRD is this is an opportunity to not add a program, but revitalize a program that adds diversity to what NWPRD offers. Like the student pointed out, you guys have gotten somewhat of a reputation of being pool focused. We all know that's not true. There's been attempts in the past to get other programs up and running, but for some reason, people move away or what have you. But here's another opportunity to diversify your program offerings. It's a year-round thing that we can do. It's all ages. 5 to 18 is the focus for coaching. However, parents and adults are welcome to join in and participate and help out in any way they can at any time. Eventually, I'd like to see a youth and a teenager and possibly an adult program separately. There's been some interest amongst adults in the community who want to do some adult-on-adult type games. It's a team building opportunity. It's a healthy activity. It's low risk when you consider all the safety equipment that these guys have to wear while they're playing. It's an extremely low risk activity. There's the competitive aspect, the team building aspect. It's a low cost option. Right now, we are only charging $20 a year for dues. Obviously, that can be adjusted based on budget requirements. But right now, it's only $20 a year. That's extremely low cost. So that's where we are right now. Those are some of the advantages. So what are we looking for from NWPRD? Well, what we need is to get the roller barn back. It's $50 a week. If it's raining, like today, if it was Sunday and we had practice today, we would need the roller barn in order to do that. So we'd like to get the roller barn back. There's some safety equipment, balls, nets, shin guards, elbow pads, and gloves that these guys need to protect themselves while they're playing this game. There's also a cost associated with that. I have a printout for you. That was the coach Les went online and found the absolute best prices he could possibly find on quality equipment, and that is what he listed as the bare bones requirements for these guys to play safe.
But I also have equipment from previous years.
Right, so there is some equipment.
I'm sorry.
I said I also have equipment left over from previous years.
That NWPRD purchased, correct?
Yep.
Right. So you guys have already.
I'm sorry, John.
No, you guys have already made an investment in this program. And, previously in your budget, it was there. You bought this equipment for the program, so you previously made an investment already. And I would just like to see that investment continued and see these guys have options. When it comes to NWPRD, we have a teenager who just told us the other day, why are you going running at night? Well, it's just something to do. Well, there's kind of a lack of things to do. If you're not, a skateboarder, and we got skate parks, if you don't want to swim, it's kind of limited, the options that you have. The Fit Club is available, but I saw on the website today that they're on a hiatus until spring. So right now, there's really not a lot of options. So I think this is a fantastic way to diversify your offerings.
Sorry, John, that's a brother of mine.
Okay, it's fine.
Question, John. It's $50 a week, so you need it once a week, correct? Or is that okay? And so that's $200 a month. Or like if it's a 5-weekend month, it would be.
Right. I would guess that we probably would not practice every single week. There'd probably be 2 weeks during the Christmas break that we wouldn't practice, perhaps, maybe. So I wouldn't think it would be all 52 weeks of the year.
Okay.
And that's something that we can certainly work out over time.
And I should think you'd be able to negotiate a contract with them for a different price because their program's the same as our friends, and we can work out something with them.
Can I ask you a question? It has to do with insurance.
Yes.
And I'm just, when I hear the age between 5 and 18, I just, my mind goes to the possibility of injuries. I'm just being honest. Just the size difference between the two, and knowing how competitive some teenagers could be. How did you handle insurance before? How was that handled? Do you know?
Right. She knows more about that than I do.
That was not something that I personally dealt with. Craig Carlson dealt with all that end of it. We did make sure, the coach did make sure that if there's kids, say, Gavin size playing against Dalton size, that these guys know there is no rough contact, they're not allowed to play that way, there's absolutely nothing to do, no injury risk.
However, I appreciate the fact that the coach would be responsible like that. There's always still that chance, though.
Right.
Then something does happen. I would just want to make sure that insurance-wise that we, that we're protected. That would be my biggest concern.
Right, because this is your program, that would be your responsibility.
Yeah.
Much like other programs in the past, whether it's a fitness club or anything else, it would come under our DERS contract.
Well, thank you.
And I know Craig in the past did have
I have waivers.
waivers
Okay.
and release of liability forms like we have for some of the other programs.
And the roller bar as well.
Right.
Okay.
If I can just add something.
No, please.
Because
Please.
one of the things, about something else we talked to Endurance about, and I don't know if everyone else knows this,
but about in terms of what our insurance rates were.
Right.
You know, I'd asked them about just some, softball questions,
Right.
and what they told me is that our insurance rates are determined based on effectively the number of FTE we have, so the number of employees, as well as the number of volunteers.
Okay.
And that's on an annual basis, so if that number changes up or down during the year, that number,
Okay.
our rates aren't affected, just so you know.
Okay, sounds good.
I found that very interesting.
It is.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
And I just wanted to add about roller hockey because when Deanna came back, she was one of the original members, and she told me, "Oh, we're starting back roller hockey." And I'm like, "Well, that's a great program." She said, "Well, you should know that. You're a commissioner." And I was like, "No, I was a commissioner for a while, and I never heard about it." So I just wanted to point out that I think that this program operated under the radar, well, not under the radar, but with the director, because it's just a low investment program. And so it's my understanding from what Marcy said and some of the other members is that they just dealt directly with the director. It never came to the board. Unless you can find it in the records somewhere, I don't think it ever actually came to
I
the
believe
board.
it, yeah.
And that's how it kind of happened in the past, we know that. But our intention now is to come to you and say, we'd like you to invest, we'd like to get your buy-in in this program because it's a really valuable program for the community, for young kids, for parents, and we've never really had an issue with big kids. They actually mentor the little kids. It's a good opportunity for them to kind of engage with all ages. So we want your support. We want you guys to be excited about this program and be able to say, look, we have a diverse set of programs here in all of the districts. So.
How many kids do you have right now again, John?
There's 9 regularly participating members.
Okay.
But we
And
feel,
that's just us just talking.
Right.
It's not been advertised or anything.
I did advertise when I originally started up again with Gino before he left, and it was in the paper 2 times, but it was this big in the paper. I tried to contact somebody else, and they never followed through to get a picture in there, which I sent them multiple pictures. It was never in there, so I mean, it's not from lack of trying. It was.
Well, I saw it. I honestly, and I didn't know what it was. And that was I saw it. Did. I just was rather surprised by it.
There's been lots of discussion about pairing up with the roller girls and just if we wanted to grow the program. But it's kind of in this weird place where I was saying, are we a district program? How does this work together? And so if you guys decide to move this forward, then we can put more energy into making sure the work is spread and it grows if that's the intention of the program.
And the parents are invested as well. The last time we were doing the Please Stand Up Help Me Please, the parents all purchased the jerseys, all the sweatshirts, anything to do with roller hockey school themselves. That wasn't even on the district. That was
Yeah.
all parent related. The kids love it. It makes them part of the team.
Yeah.
And when we initially started it, we did want to get involved with Scat Skate and all those, and we need to look like a team.
Yeah.
Marcy, or John, can somebody tell us a little bit about the coach?
I can't. He's also waiting, he has a job and he's over in Bremerton. He said he's on the phone call, and I'd like to speak to him. He's been a professional hockey player. He was played for, give me a second. I have to tell you, I can't remember them all.
And he's been donating his time. He's been completely free this whole time. We so appreciate it.
He has played for professional hockey in Jacksonville, Florida, Norfolk, Virginia, San Diego, California. His last team was with the Sharks.
He's retired Navy.
He was also a special education teacher, or I don't know if it was a national teacher in aid, I think they're called, at the high school recently, working with the transition program. He volunteers his time with other community activities. He's growing his hair right now. He said to mention that because he looks like
he looks like a hockey player.
he looks like a hockey player. He looks like, some long-haired hippie guy, but he's doing that because he wants to donate his hair to Locks of Love.
So,
I was like, I must have misheard her. I'm like, did she just say he was growing his hair?
It's about here now, isn't it?
It's down there.
can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
So 9 kids, $20 a year.
Yes.
Okay. So you would like to have the roller barn how many times? If we
Probably
could
at least
once-
45 times a year.
Okay. Okay, so $50 every time, right? So is that $2,250, I believe?
At least.
Maybe
Yes, sir.
2,500 or 58.
Yeah.
Okay.
Giving you all the information up front so you guys can make an informed decision. The dues are not set in stone. Would like to keep it a low-cost program.
Yeah.
However, if we needed to raise dues a little bit to offset costs in order to get you guys support, that's something we're willing to do.
Yeah.
I will say this, and later on tonight, we're going to talk about the budget. and we're going to move into a budget meeting sometime in the next month to month and a half. Like to invite you guys to come to the budget meeting, by the way. But you're going to hear how tight the budget is right now, and I'm not making excuses for the board because I'm just letting you know out front that our budget currently is very tight. And that we have to, one of the things we're going to be tasked to do is look at it, come up with maybe another budget for the year. So now's a good time for us to take a look at this and the future of the district, and if this is a program we want or don't want. So.
Right, and
Yeah, 9 kids times $20 now, sir, but I can guarantee you if this is a properly supported program, you're gonna see numbers go way, way, way up.
Yeah, please don't take that wrong. I
Yeah.
think that this sounds like a wonderful idea.
Right, that's for the record.
Just trying to figure out, it's like, when we look at finances, because we're trying to make some of the other programs be a little more fiscally responsible going forward. And we want to make sure that you understand.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I understand, and we'd be proud. And
Yeah.
with the kind of support that we have from the parents, fundraisers are not out of the question.
Okay. Because I think it sounds like an awesome program. Yeah.
And I'm in your shoes, I know what it's like to be going through this budget season, and so I thank you all for your time and doing what you're doing for the district. And but knowing what I do know, I do recognize there is some room in our budget, your budget, with other programs and how heavily we support other programs. And while they're more popular, they've got to start up, they've had a chance to start up, and this program could also be successful.
Yeah.
And so if you can find places to maybe sell from Peter to pay all, just shift around a little bit, maybe just to give this the chance, that'd be great.
So,
Can I, oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Hey, everyone's
You go ahead.
engaged, everyone's
You go ahead.
engaged.
You go ahead.
One thing I would really love to see, actually, and this is not, I don't think it's a make work exercise, is a little bit more just in terms of what your expectations are, and we're trying to look at this for everything in terms of what would you be taking in, what would the program expenses be? I mean, just a little more, I would say, budget diligence. I hope that's okay to say, because I think either way it's going to help the program. But I think for us, it would be a lot easier than us all doing our own math on our own papers. Does that make sense?
Well, we have to make a decision amongst, the parents and the coordinators in the program, decide what we want our dues to be exactly, and then if we don't have that answer, we can't really provide you with a budget of what's going to be coming in. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Well,
I do, but I think somewhere you have to make a projection as to, here's our expectation as to the number of kids we're gonna have, here's how much we intend to raise, fundraising, whatever those sources of income are, and then here's what we expect our expenses to be, to look at, right, so if I look at, and I'm not being critical, I'm actually trying to be helpful really, is if I look at this and say, okay, well they're asking for $1,669.88, I think you're actually potentially asking for more than that, and I think it would help us to see something that's a little more informational, even if it's a projection, right? Because you know this. I mean, we're looking at P&Ls here, and some of them in our budget are projections. But at least then we kind of go, do we think it's maybe 15 kids by the end of the year? Is that realistic? And is this a good amount to charge? I think just a little more fleshing out of it, I would really love to see.
I completely agree with what you're saying, and it's something that we can work on. I just want to make sure everybody's clear here that all the work that's been done at this point has been volunteer. And all the budgets we've developed in the past that you all have seen, whether it be the Run Club budget, whether it be the swim team, all the projects that are programs that come and be proposed to you, they're developed by full-time staff, or at least paid staff.
Yeah.
So what you're asking is for to completely further flesh out, or John, which we would do it to support it, but recognizing that it's asking a lot for people who have already put a lot of volunteer time in. And so if you're looking at it in terms of we need this bottom line to know if we can fund it, I would just invite you to look at it as terms of what can you fund, and then come back and say, like, we can fund you up to $2,000 or $5,000. We can fund a roller hockey program up to this amount of money. This is what we have a budget for. And then when they're paid staff, so say you're paying, like the Run Club was paid, I don't know how many hours that person was paid to be a district staff person. And then that person develops a detailed budget to say, okay, we have this to run with, so we need to charge this in order to have a viable program. It's, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of
I do.
difficult to
Unfortunately, I haven't actually, no insult to anyone in the room or otherwise. I haven't actually, so for example, the Running Club, part of the reason they're on hiatus is because they didn't have a plan like that. And we didn't have the participation. And I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just being honest. Because we're trying to look for more financial responsibility and another level of I think, of insight into the programs. And so I'm certainly, Laura, not trying to argue with you. I feel like I would have a better understanding of how the money would be used and how much you're looking for, but I mean, whatever, you know, I didn't mean that like flippantly. It would be really helpful if someone can do that. We are really short-staffed right now, so I don't see that being a viable option. I know that's not what you would ask for necessarily, but I just don't see that being an option for us right now to ask someone on our staff to do it at this time.
It would be helpful if we might be able to find the records from what was paid out in the past, because that's something that I don't think we have, to see like insurance and all those costs that we have no idea about, and that was previous directors, so.
I think the big thing I would, I mean, as far as this $1,600 going forward, that would be property that belonged to the district.
Right.
That's correct, just like,
But my biggest concern would be if we're winning I love that the volunteers are willing to step up. That is awesome. You know, I think that more programs should be ran by volunteers personally. But, you know, that $50, you know, 40 sometimes a year, if there was a way that money could somehow not be just the burden of the taxpayer, I think, you know what I'm saying? Or the responsibility is a better word, not burden, because strike that word. I'm ashamed of myself that I said that, because any program for kids is not a burden. It's a responsibility that we take on, and I'm ashamed that I said that personally. These kids are important, and if you could maybe somehow, you know, brainstorm, if you could come up with ideas on how to help shoulder that responsibility of that $50 every time you're at the roller barn. What?
I was shaking my head at Shane, go ahead. No.
Yeah.
That's why I was shaking my head.
But I would love, personally, I would love to come and watch. If you could give me a time when I can come and watch, and
We'll let you
just,
play.
I would love to play. I would love to play.
It's fun.
But I would love to come. If you could give me a time, I would love that. So, because it would give me, because I'm a see kind of guy, and if I could see it, you know, I would like that. So, anyway.
I just want to mention that when I did start this up originally, it was a free program.
Yeah.
There was no fees, there was no dues involved at all.
Yeah, the dues would offset that cost.
What if we went to the roller bar too? I mean, would they give us a better?
That's what I was thinking.
That's what.
Like, the deal that you worked with the Oak Harbor High School, I don't know what the deal we used to have with them, but we gave them certain funds, but it seems like a community program like that would be able to do something.
They would give an hour of.
Seems like it would be right after
Pool time, an hour of skate.
I mean, seems like they should be on it.
Barter. We've
But
got
we can
water.
certainly make underwater them too.
Skates,
We just don't have a lot of power. I don't feel like being volunteers, but I think someone from the district, I know we have a director right now, but the interim director can just see what the possibilities may be for potential negotiations of that fee. It does seem like it should be able to be waived a bit.
Thank you. I like the sound of that.
Well, I think you guys for your time.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you guys for coming in. Thank you guys for playing hockey and roller hockey and for coming tonight and showing your interest. That's awesome. Thank you.
Keep skating.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Let's not go over
Hey, Lori, email me a time when you guys are doing it.
Okay. Right now, we're outside at Hillcrest, though. It's getting nicer this time of year. I'm like, I'm fine with that.
12 o'clock on Sundays, the Hillcrest done to be undercover right now. Unless the coach can't make it for whatever reason, and he's stuck over in Bremerton.
Oh, leave him. Leave him. No, thank you very much, young man. Thank you.
This?
Yeah.
Just this or?
Yeah, that's just
Yeah.
that's it.
I know that's Don Susan. Okay.
Okay.
Not your blue umbrella.
Hey, young man, thank you for coming, you guys.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Thank you.
All right, board issues. Minute?
I was just gonna say thank you for switching the email. That's working much better, and thank you for getting us stuff. I know for getting us things earlier this month. I really appreciate it. Thank you. There we go.
Any further board issues? I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yes. I brought a whole list, 4 points to be made. And it's like, unfortunately, I'm preaching to a bunch of choir members, but that's okay. I was going to apologize for not knowing the policy that turns out isn't a policy, so I don't apologize for the way that I write the minutes. And if any of my fellow board members object, I am happy to not be secretary. So Steve or Dave, if they wanted to be secretary, you may take that job from me, happily. Okay.
Well, I don't know if you were waiting for a response. I mean,
Well, I thought you would jump at the chance. Anyway, okay, so not apologizing. I was surprised to find out I'm the commissioner wishing to kill the district. I was gonna wear my Death to the District t-shirt, but I don't own one. I never said that. I said we need a pool. What I did say, and I admit to saying this, was I'm not positive that the pool should not be self-sustaining. And so leaps of logic lead to I want to kill the pool and end the district because the pool equals the district. But I never said that. What I said was the pool, I thought the pool should be self-sustaining because that was the promise that was made back in 1980 when I voted for the pool bond. And it was never explained to me why that turned out not to be true. I now know pools cannot be self-sustaining. If anyone had bothered to ask me in the last 6 weeks, I would have explained. I have changed, I have done my research. I know pools cannot be self-sustaining, but no one bothered to ask me. Number 3, the district is not the pool. The district is the 19,000 plus voters that are out there that we, the commissioners, support and defend their viewpoints and needs. The pool is the physical manifestation of the 1980 district, of what they chose to build. And because I do think we need a pool, and most of us, I think, agree that we need a pool, we need to defend the pool and keep it going. And I don't think that that has been being done to the best of our abilities. And I have said I would not support the levy if we don't change our ways. And we are on the path to doing that. So I will support, I would never come out and say don't defend the levy unless we don't change our ways. It's that simple. Because I don't think we're doing what the people want us to do. Everybody that I know doesn't have a kid in NWAC thinks they don't understand why they are supporting competitive swimming. But and that's not the 19,000 people. Those are the 20 people maybe that I meet and ask, do you have kids in swimming? What do you think? So, and then number 4 point, and unfortunately everybody here, and I'm going to look at you, Shane, and say your remarks today were fabulous. They were polite. They were well reasoned. You had a point made. You made it nicely to everybody. I listened.
I as much as anybody knows, the newspaper put a spin on stuff as well. So
They do, but it's okay. I don't think I was ever quoted as saying I wouldn't support the budget.
I think it was something a while back. I don't quite recall what it was, but I think it was.
It doesn't matter because other people take what you say and twist it. But my 4th point was that I wanted to make for some people to hear was I think we should all be civil. And I remember my favorite Saturday Night Live sketch was always the Weekend Update with Jane Curtin and Dan Aykroyd. Jane Curtin would have a well-reasoned argument that she would be very bland about it, and she'd finish her argument, she'd turn, Dan, and Dan would look back at her, Jane, you ignorant slut. And then he'd proceed to demolish Jane Curtin personally, and that was his argument, And so when anybody goes to that path, I'm sorry, I stopped listening because you don't have a valid argument, so I don't have to listen. That's my point. That was all I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you.
And like I said, unfortunately, preaching to the choir. Nobody's here that needed to hear that, but
It's on the record.
I feel better, and it'll be in the minutes next time.
And it's on the record.
Oh, that's true.
Indeed.
Any other board issues? Fantastic. Let's move on to minutes approval. Minutes of February 19th, 2015. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the minutes from the February 18th board meeting as stated.
I have a motion to approve the February 19th minutes. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Thank you, sir. Any comments, changes, or deletions?
I don't want to upset anyone, but, you know, why don't we just go back to what former Commissioner McDougal had recommended back in August 15, 2013, and that was that we don't even put public comments in the minutes. It's not required by law. If you remember back, Chairman Merrill, that was discussed, and that's why we kind of came up with the whole YouTube audio. You know, we could be transparent. At the same time, it actually saves time for the secretary, so you don't have to go through and try to figure out what a person meant in their three or more minutes that they speak. You know, we take away any chance of offending anyone. At the same time, I think it takes the pressure off of whoever is the secretary at the time, to where they don't have to go through and try to figure out what they were trying to say in the first place. It's not required by law to be in there for the public comments. So I would actually like to see the public comments for this month taken out, and from this point forward, that we put no public comments in, that we just refer in the minutes to that YouTube audio file. This is what Commissioner McDougal had said.
Well, we need to stick now to
I was
whether
gonna
we're approving, sorry, you're the.
No, I was going to say the exact
This
same
is
thing.
relevant.
But it's not, but with the motion on it is relevant. And I'd ask for these, the question and the quote to be made later. We have to address the motion, which was
That's fine.
approval of the minutes,
Okay.
the current minutes. So,
I would ask that the public comments from the minutes of this, and please don't be offended, because I definitely don't mean it that way, but that we remove the public comments from this month's minutes.
okay.
I'm not offended at all.
Okay.
And I actually
Thank
guessed
you.
that you would recommend that because you're such a nice guy. Here's my thought. I was not gonna go into them at all. What I've been doing is putting a one wordy,
Yeah.
two wordy thing about what, because I thought that way people, if they saw the written ones, they say, oh, so-and-so talked about NWAC. I'm now interested. I'm gonna go listen to what they said. But in this case, because several commissioners referred back to what they said, I thought it was very important that we say what they said.
Okay.
And that's why I did it. Because I told you, I stopped listening when they get to the, whiny part. And I really didn't know what certain people, I didn't know what certain people had actually said. I had to go listen over and over and over to get the exact wording. And then I bent over backwards to be objective about it. So while I take your comments, I think we are not doing anybody a service by doing that, other than letting people continue to vent their spite in public.
Okay. Go ahead.
As much as there may be things that people say that we don't like, it is the right as a resident to have their 3 minutes heard.
Oh,
And it's
absolutely.
hard. Look, I've been listening for 2 years to things, and I understand that sometimes it can be frustrating. And I have said things that I shouldn't have said, and you talk about preaching to the choir, I feel like I am now speaking to myself, because I have said some things too. And I understand what you're saying, I really do. But I just really think that this is one of those things that we can, sometimes maybe we just need to move on from certain things. And I think by removing that possibility of upsetting someone in the district, I just think that that's one thing we can fix quickly. And it's my opinion.
Okay, there are certain people that are gonna keep taking offense, and they're gonna continue to vent their spite, and it's like, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I've had it.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
now, if the board as a whole
Okay.
wishes to,
Okay.
I'm completely fine whichever way we go with.
Can you give it an opinion in terms of, you've seen it both ways, and so it's relevant to these minutes right here.
Oh, sure.
I figured,
No, that's fine.
I'd love to have more than one opinion.
Yeah, thank you.
Who's seen it both ways.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
do you think it's easier to just leave them out, or do you think?
I tell you what, after 4 years of doing it, three plus years of doing this, I can say that I agree with Commissioner Hoffmeyer and past Chair McDougall that for the most part, it is easier just to leave public comments as see public comments, for the sole fact that we're not, no matter what we do, our words will be interpreted, for lack of a better word, differently by different people, and we're not going to do that to the taxpayer. I've seen it in the past. It's been an easy way for us, because no matter how objective we try to be, you know, as a history guy, you know, in college, one of my best professors says, remember, history is subjective too, the winners wrote it.
True.
And I thought, darn it, he was right. And so to alleviate that, in the past it's worked well. But since we're talking about these minutes, the only way we could do that for this would be to have a change to the motion, because the motion on the floor right now for all of us is to approve the minutes as written.
Yeah, and so I'd like to amend the motion.
We have an amendment to the motion?
I'd like to amend the motion to approve the minutes with the, or to request changes, approve the minutes except for changes to the public comment section to refer to the audio online, or to the, yeah.
So we have a motion to approve the minutes from the 19 February regular meeting with the changes of public comments refer to online audio.
A second.
I have a second. Further discussion.
Later it refers to, I'm not sure how much detail it goes into, but it does refer to what, where was it? The last page in the middle, Commissioner Shingleton commented on Ms. Bates' remark about someone on the board who wants the district filled. The Commissioner remarked, he's not sure what lies referred to. Do I need to blank those out?
The motion, and I can say this really quickly, hopefully. The motion is to leave out the public comments part.
Yeah.
The discussion part is commissioners' discussion, and in the past we've left that in because it is our saying something about a specific subject, which is public records.
Okay.
It makes it easier for the public to see what we said.
Okay.
And if I, oh, sorry, if I need to amend it again, I will, but I do know that in this portion of discussion, I never named anyone. I know that I didn't because I just said that there were comments about it, and so I would ask, and I can make yet another amendment, but I would remove the names because I don't think Sean did either, but I don't remember that 100%. But I didn't name any names.
May I just say one thing? If you look at the RCW's on minutes, the only thing really required in minutes is official business. I mean, we don't have to write anything else other than motions made, essentially. You know, or the business being performed. Any discussion by commissioners, that doesn't even have to be in there either, really. I mean, not saying that we're not going to, but I think that
Just
when
so
we
you
really
know,
look at what
I'm
minutes
anal.
are.
I am totally anal. And
It's okay. It's okay.
I know, but it's like, that's who you elected to be the secretary, so that's why you have such detailed minutes. And because I think it's important.
Okay, okay.
But yes, I can keep the public's comments out of it since they don't have to take any responsibility for free speech.
That's not the case. I'm sorry.
No,
We're still in discussion here. I know.
Yeah.
I don't.
I'm being
think that's-
snippy, and
I don't
I'm
think-
trying not to be.
You
Okay,
are
I
being
am.
snippy.
Yes, I apologize.
I'm just saying,
I said I would accept whatever, and I do. So
Well,
it's fine.
But
We don't.
The point is that it's still a part of the record. So just to, I mean, I think this is what we've also heard,
Yep.
is it's still a part of the record. We do want people to feel comfortable. They have every right to come here and say their 3 minutes
Invent,
worth.
yeah.
But
They do.
we want people, granted, you know, as I think everybody else, sometimes when you see a lot of people in here, you get a little nervous because you're like, what's going on? What don't I know? Is it good? Is it bad? What is it? But everyone has that right to come and do that. And I think we would all actually like it if more people did.
Mhm.
But if there are people who feel, no, if people can't participate, don't do that. If people can't participate, I
Yes.
appreciate the interest in the participation, right?
As the only board member that sat on a 5.5-hour public discussion, which I got beat up on. I can say there is a limit to the amount of public discussion. that we
Absolutely,
should-
and our, yes, agreed. But I think the point being that if it helps us and it saves time, then, you know, stop being snippy. Sorry, I'm just saying it, I'm gonna say
Okay.
it, stop being snippy. And it is their free speech, and as residents and taxpayers in this district, to have their 3 minutes, and if this is the best way for us to reflect it, it's still on the record.
Yes, it is.
So referring people to that, if they want to know what it is, they can go listen to it.
Okay.
I honestly do not feel comfortable with any of this conversation that is just transparent. And I just want you to know that. Because I'll tell you what, I think that if anybody was to listen to this right now, I think we should be ashamed of ourselves. Because I'll tell you what, we are here to serve the people. It's not us against them. And if I were to hear this, I would think it's us against them. And it's just...
I'm unaware of anything I just said that was against
I didn't say
people.
you.
It's
Don't
me.
take it that way. No, I'm just thinking, you guys, we really need to understand that we're here for the taxpayers of this district. They've elected us, well, or we've been appointed, and we really are here to serve them. And we really need to move past, I think, getting offended by people that want to voice their concerns, and that's their right as Americans. So
That is true, and we're also here to do the public's,
Yeah.
to represent the public's and do the district's
Yeah.
business. And as such, we will limit the amount of public comment. Not that they can't get a hold of us at any time or email all of us to tell us how they think, but the public meeting is not a public forum. It is a venue for the board to do public business, not to have an open discussion with the public. Therefore, I, for one, am not ashamed at all for limiting public comment during the board's public business meeting, but saying that we're here to do the business.
there you go.
Thank you, sir. All right, so on to the motion that is currently and still on the table. We need to approve the minutes from the 19 February 2015 meeting with the changes to public comments, both the first and last section of public comments being C, audio. Are there any other changes?
Wait.
There's the public comments in the first, and then there's the public comments in the rear.
Okay. Both up, got it. Okay.
And the other change was to strike the name during this discussion from the chair, discussion from Commissioner Shingleton and Commissioner Merrill.
Got it.
Are there any further changes? All in favor of approving the meeting minutes from the 19 February minutes? The minutes from the 19th February meeting with the noted changes? All in favor?
Aye.
All against? All abstentions?
I'm going to abstain because I wrote them.
So for the roll call vote, since it wasn't unanimous, Commissioner Hoffmeyer,
Aye.
Commissioner Shingleton,
Aye.
Commissioner Holly,
Abstain.
motion passes. Voucher review.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Can you take care of those changes? Or do I have to do it? Okay, I mean, that's fine. Just, you took care of other changes. So not cheesy.
If somebody would make a motion for vouchers numbers 6587 to 6623. And the M&O account, that would be great.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve district vouchers 6587 through 6623 in the total amount of $33,495.50, and payroll transfers from the M&O account to payroll account in the amount of $40,666.04.
So I have a motion to approve the vouchers for the total of $33,495.50 and the M&O for $4,666.04. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, discussion.
So,
I'm just curious as well, I didn't ask this already, but the vouchers at 6597, just a better understanding, 65, like, in the list, all of the North Whitby Park and Rec District. Can I better understand just what that is?
Those are reimbursements to Petty Cash.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, and just to clarify, we're still referring to petty cash as.
It's the bank account where Matt and Erica can sign checks from
Okay.
for purchases that we don't have time to run through the county.
So it's kind of petty cash.
Yeah, it's our Petty Cash checking account because that
Okay.
makes so much sense.
Right, okay. All right, thank you. And then I just had some questions about the credit cards. Just an understanding, I was a little personally surprised to see like late fees and interest charges. Is that an anomaly?
No?
She explained it to me better.
Okay, yeah, I know.
That was during the time I took over and there was no proper turnover to me, so I couldn't get a hold of tracers, I couldn't get receipts to prove my debt to the county. And I tried calling the credit card company and they wouldn't speak to me at all because I'm not the card company.
Are we contesting that $25?
I tried to.
Okay.
Which $25?
On Gino's Visa bill. I wanted to try to understand that this isn't something, I mean, obviously we wouldn't expect it, but that there was a reason for it. And then we typically don't carry balances, we typically don't expect to carry balances on these cards, correct? Okay, all right.
We paid them off.
Okay, I realize that while the numbers are small, it's money that has no actual value to us.
So we've been trying to we were taking the things that were coming off of Gino's credit card and transferring them over to another one and closing that account down.
And does the I don't know if this is normal protocol, but does the coach does he have a Visa card?
No,
Okay.
not right now. Normally they do.
Okay, because I was gonna say we have him in a reimbursement, and I wasn't sure how that. Yeah. I would have expected. I wasn't sure. Okay.
Well, that reimbursement for him was actually mileage for travel,
Okay.
not just.
And we would do that. We would do it that way anyway. Mileage reimbursement.
Sure. Hard to tell me, but. Just a comment, those job postings were a little spendier than I had anticipated. I mean, I realize it's part of our policy. We did what was in the policy. Actually, we didn't even, we limited it a little bit.
And those were the most economical options when
Oh,
Sean
I
and I
get
sat
that.
down. to
Yeah,
look at
oh,
them.
I'm sure. It was just like, woo!
Further questions?
I just want to say thank you, Julie, for continuing to be a budget shopper.
You like my thrift store purchase?
I do, and I appreciate it. I know that you do that, and
I got 3 or 4 binders for that $6,
See?
and they're that much a piece if you go to Office Max.
exactly. No, I appreciate that.
One small question. The Cisco new concept product, is it like a new Wi-Fi?
No, do you know what that was?
Where at?
Cisco?
The 6
Is that like a router or something?
It's in the list.
I feel like that's something that Matt orders.
Yes, it's chemicals.
Oh, is it? Okay. Because I know, I think that's Cisco.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That is Cisco.
Yeah, Cisco, right? Yeah. My Wi-Fi thing?
Right.
The Wi-Fi thing.
Networking, right, yeah.
The little box that squeaks.
Matt's thing.
That's Matt's.
Because I was thinking, oh my goodness, that's expensive for a wireless router.
That would be expensive.
Thank you very much.
No further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Staff reports. Miss Erica. Oh, I'm going to interrupt and I apologize. Do we have the voucher sheet for us to sign? Thank you. Ms. Director, go ahead.
2015 labor law posters arrived and have been posted. The sensitivity training for Endurus, or from Endurus, is scheduled for Friday, April 17th, 2015. It will be held here. The management staff, commissioners, and non-school age staff will meet from noon to 3 p.m. on that date. Any staff who cannot make that noon meeting will attend the second session from 3:45 to 6 p.m. We will be closing the pool at 11:30 that day so that all of the staff are able to attend. Our pool will reopen at 5:30 p.m. for our regular hours.
Director, can you also update the board on your conversation with MRSC in regards to the commissioners being here for that?
Yes. I spoke with Attorney Paul Solomon at MRSC. I asked him specifically about the protocol that would be in place with all the commissioners attending this training. It is perfectly okay and legal for the commissioners to attend this training. It is not it's not open to the public. However, we do have it posted as notice to the public that the commissioners will be all together in one place. However, no district business may be discussed. However, you may answer questions or ask questions of our trainer. You may interact with the trainer. You may not conduct any business, make any decisions, anything like that. And if you guys start to do that, I am to stop you and ask that you focus on the training and that we conduct no district discussions or district business at that time.
Thank you, ma'am, for updating us.
Continuing on, we have been working to reconcile our accounts. We have reconciled payroll from April to September of 2014. It had not been reconciled from March on, so it is now done through September, and I think we're even further along than that. We'll talk about that next meeting. Petty cash reconciliation is done and is current. We have been working to reconcile the M&O account. We did find a large error, prevented us from moving forward. We spoke to our CPA advisor and we were able to find out where and how the error occurred toward the end of 2014. We were able to correctly address this issue and move forward. So we are continuing to work to reconcile the M&O account. We're continuing to review the NWAC accounts to make sure information is accurate and there are no discrepancies. We have begun a review of the employee handbook as we begin to move forward with updating it with the board. We have been reviewing current contracts, renewal dates, and will be making suggestions to the board on how those can be revised or improved as we make contract recommendations. We've also discovered our payment to Oak Harbor Chamber of Commerce had been received several weeks late. The bill was sent out in July of 2014. It did not get paid until approximately right around Halloween. This caused us not to be listed on the Chamber of Commerce's website as a member business. I contacted the Chamber. We are now on their list again. We have sent some flyers over for their in-dock packages, and we are also now on their website with our Holland Happening event, which will be coming up in April, or our April Fool's Day. The Chamber had not received any advertising from us for several months. We will be supplying them now every month with flyers so that they can use to put in our in-dock, and they'll be listing our special events as we give them to them. We have also been exploring ideas to help offset costs. This includes possibilities of a Friends of the Pool, booster groups. This, of course, is a research process and is ongoing as there are many legalities involved, and this must be done in accordance with laws. Our department heads have been really working hard to streamline operations to save money. This has been including scheduling, reprioritizing, contracted staff taking on more responsibility, re-evaluating needs versus wants, and so on. You guys have been doing a great job with that. Our annual daddy-daughter dance was very successful. Ticket sales were sold out. Approximately 80 to 90 people attended. This event cleared with a profit of several $100s, and we are looking forward to expanding the event next year and are in the early stages of planning a mother-son event as well.
Could you give me, what's the exact several hundred?
You said 3 to 4?
I don't have the exact yet, because I still have to crunch those numbers, but I think we're gonna be in that $300 to $400 profit range.
Sweet.
Good job posting all, I don't know who took all the pictures, but those were fantastic, and thank you so much for posting them. I just, for me, it really like, it just was helpful, and I saw lots of faces that I love,
And it's
so.
an amazingly fun event. It was,
Yeah.
on a totally personal note, really emotional for me because I lost my dad when I was young, and seeing all those dads and daughters, it was special, and they really, really had a good time.
It was super neat, yeah.
Thank you, Jill.
If I can just back up, did we ever get a bill from, are we aware of how much we've spent on our friend?
I sent him an email.
Okay, and then, it was just following up from last time, and then, and I'm gonna do this to everyone, every time I can think of it. If we have a Friends of the District program, that would be fantastic.
Okay.
A Friends of the District, and
District is not the pool.
well, and I think if we want to try to, I mean, I think we could, maybe there's a larger discussion there, but I think if we are looking at trying to find supporters, I hope that it would be for the entire district.
Absolutely.
And not just for the pool.
Absolutely.
And, I know there are other discussions about booster clubs and all that stuff, but I know that they're said interchangeably, and I'm just gonna try to, nip that in the bud if we can, or change habit. How about that?
Yeah, and like I said, those are fraught with a lot of rules and legalities, so those are going to take some work on the part of the board, and of course I'm willing to jump in on that as well to explore those.
I love the thought of the Mother's Son. I'm just telling you, I just think that that's a fabulous idea.
we have
I don't know
some-
whose idea it was, but it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I actually did a daughter-daddy thing once. It was so much fun. And I think that, wow, it would be so cool for moms and sons to do the same thing.
Yeah, we've got some really good ideas floating around about that, so we're hoping maybe in the fall
Yeah,
to
very
do that in
cool.
the fall.
Very cool.
I'm going to just go right into the aquatic director report, just because I'm here. I'll take one hat off and put the other one on. So it's on page 4. The swim lesson registration was 161. Oak Harbor Elementary 3rd grade lessons, we had 21 kids enrolled. Our private lessons have just exploded. We have 106 currently being taught for a total of 288 lessons being enrolled. Our lesson programs are up.
Sorry, so 208 students are enrolled, so how many times, or is it like they pay for 8 lessons?
Mm-hmm.
Is that?
Yeah, the regular swim lessons would pay for 8 lessons.
Okay.
The Oak Harbor Elementary 3rd grade, they pay for 8 as well.
Okay.
The private lessons, those can go anywhere from, they can load their punch card with 1 to 12 to 8 to however many.
So is the 160 divided by 8 then? Is that what you're saying?
You would multiply it by 8 to get the total number of lessons taught.
Well, there
That
you
was
go.
100.
Then it's actually
So it's
161 kids.
people, yeah.
It's also-
That's
yeah,
bodies.
but
That's
and
bodies, not splashes.
you pay for
Yeah.
8 lessons.
Yes.
And the private lesson is the opposite, because the private lesson, that's the total number of private lessons taught
Gotcha.
during the month.
Punch, yeah.
Ah.
And now keep going your
How
thoughts.
many kids in the 106? Do you have any idea?
Isn't that 106, or is there some that
No,
are
that's the
multiple?
number of private lessons, because they're on a punch
Ah.
card now, so what I do is I go through and I count the number of punches used for that.
Just out of curiosity.
It's I was gonna say, no, I think it's in the 40s.
Yeah.
It's in the 40s.
I would guess, I mean, I can go back and get the exact number, but if you guys would like to see that.
That's quite a few.
Let me make a note, I can do that for next time.
And then we're going to anticipate that these numbers continue to increase as we head into summer. That's traditionally been how things have gone. Private lessons continue to thrive. We have several new requests coming in every single week. We are currently working on creating a system where lesson requests are processed in a more timely manner. This has been an ongoing frustration which we are eager to address, and we actually do have a new private lesson form which has been finished. My projection was the end of this week, beginning of next week. It is actually finished, and we are going to begin to use that one, and it should help our private lessons streamline a little bit better. They're going to be able to request times that the private lessons are actually available and not simply put down a time when other programs are in the pool, which leads the instructors not to take them.
And did Steve's acquaintance's child get taken care of?
Yes, they did.
May I ask you one thing?
Yes, you may.
Or one thing to bring to the board, rather, because Eric and I talked this week, and it was one thing she said, I mean, it was a good problem to have, is that private lessons are exploding now, right? So if they continue to do, which we hope they do, what are going to be those options? Whether it's more lane time, or how are we going to handle it? Because what would be sad is to turn kids away, you know? And
We're going to have to look at that scheduling
Okay.
at some point.
And I would like to say, because I'm getting a look from Wendy, we approve the schedule. The board does.
Yeah, and I thought we were supposed to do it after high school ended. That was
We are.
Okay.
And one of the suggestions I have to make is that with our numbers and some of our other programs down, why not take a lane or two during some of those program hours and do private lessons?
yeah, because one of my concerns would be like, and we talked about this, I mean, and I don't know how many kids, but say those 106 lessons, what about the kid, I mean, you don't have enough instructors.
Yeah.
So then this child gets passed over this month, but what process is in place to make sure they get in the next month? Because what you would hate is one child gets skipped over every
Right.
month, right? That would be horrible.
Yeah.
But boy, we could alleviate the whole daggone problem if we had enough instructors
Increase
and
the
language
capacity.
space.
Well, one of the things we can look at
Yeah.
is, and this is what I was hitting at, is NWAC has some prime time right after school,
Yeah.
right? Why not open a lane for private lessons at the same time?
I like that actually, Sean.
Why not look at moving them all, because the numbers are down, and I wish Coach Taylor was here to address this with us, and I think we should have this conversation with the coach here. But I think one of the options is, let's take one lane and get that, can you do, and let me ask a silly question, can you do a private lesson in one lane?
Yes, we could do 3 in one lane.
You could do 3 private lessons in one lane.
Yeah, if we don't have kids that need to do lengths, that we have them that are just working on basic skills, I have lane 6 and I'll have 3 or 4 private lessons going on there because they're just working on skills.
Because that's
and only-
prime time right after school.
Is a
Yeah,
private
it
lesson
is.
for 1 hour or half hour?
It depends on the person. There are some kids that can't do an hour. They're just
Okay.
not
So
physically.
Kid doesn't
an
have any
hour
attention
for 3
span.
kids
Yeah.
is $75 for that lane. Yeah, right, I mean, yeah, so.
So I think it's something when we look at the schedule, which we should look at next month.
Okay.
I like that.
You know, maybe that's something we can throw. All right. I'm sorry, we interrupted your report. No.
It's all good. School group lessons, Oak Harbor Elementary 3rd grade lessons have begun Tuesdays and Thursday afternoons. They go from 1:30 to 2:30. They will go, they're in their 3rd session right now. They have 1 or 2 more. So they bring 20 kids over every time. When they finish, Oak Harbor Christian School will probably begin.
May I ask you a question on Oak Harbor Elementary?
Sure.
What rate do they get?
They get a discounted group rate.
Okay.
They go $33.50 per child, I want to say. It's either $33 or $33.50 per child.
Okay.
So they get it discounted off of our regular lesson rate, which is $40.
Okay.
Just because they're bringing
Okay.
so many of them at once.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious because I was thinking about other schools in the district. I know they can't, it's not as easy
It's a
for them
busing
to
issue
come.
for them.
Yeah, but I still kind of wonder, I mean, if PTAs from those schools wanted to set something up to where there was a block where they could come in the evening and be given that, I mean, I don't know that they would even be interested. But you know, there's all these, there's 4 other elementary schools, I think.
Is that a segue into?
We're getting there.
Yeah, that's, oh, no, that's, I didn't know if you were ready for next item.
Right.
So I've been in contact with every elementary school in Oak
That's
Harbor
awesome.
and Cookville to set up water safety presentations. We are working with each school to address water safety with every kindergarten through 3rd grader in our school system.
Yeah.
We will give, this will give us an opportunity not only to help our community keep our kids safe around water and be aware of aquatic dangers. Our goal is to keep kids safe by providing education through the Red Cross Wales Tales program and to send information home with each child about water safety and how NWPRD can help each family raise awareness to be safe in and around water.
Can
I love that.
and can I just tell you how much, I mean, so you shared this with us last month, and I, in talking to people and just saying, are you aware that one of our goals is to ensure that by the end of 3rd grade that most kids have, that kids in this district have basic water skills. There are people in this community that have no idea that goes on, and they all kind of had this like, wow, and I know, right? like this is so cool, and it's like, this isn't new. This is something that's been happening for a long time, and I think it's such a wonderful, thank you for sharing that with us, and I will continue to share that with people because I think it's exactly the core of what we're supposed to do, and it's what you have been doing. It just happens to be that some people are not aware of it.
And we do offer this as we offer this no cost to the schools because it's a water safety presentation. We take a half an hour, 45 minutes. Each school does it differently. For example, Crescent Harbor Elementary is going to have us do it as an assembly. We've got a couple of girls that are they're basically fighting over which couple of them get to go and do it. They all are just dying to get it done. Oak Harbor Christian School has us go to the classrooms. We're working together with Oak Harbor Elementary. They're trying to figure out whether they're going to have us do it either as an assembly or whether they're going to have us do it as individual classrooms as well. So the schools that we have talked to, they're very excited about it. They're looking to get us scheduled. Our instructors are eager to get going on it. And we take coloring pages for the kids. They talk about there's little puzzles and water safety things that they do. And they also get information that's really valuable to them as a family about how to stay safe in and around water and how we can help them through our programs here to meet those goals.
How do we connect with, what is it, Home Connections? That's what it's called, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So then also for staff training, our instructors met to review Red Cross Learn to Swim skills, levels 1, 2, and 3. They also work to improve class structure, planning, and more effective teaching. Instructors started out in the classroom and then moved into the water to practice what they learned. They also reviewed correct hand placement and support when teaching skills and how to adapt skills for those with special needs. We enjoyed placing blindfolds on our instructors for an example, and they learn how to guide each other through skills practices while blind, or we take away their hearing and we work together on how do you teach with different impairments, and they really enjoyed it. Lifeguards met this month, so we'll discuss that one in April. Lifeguard training class begins April 4th. The water safety instructor class will begin April 13th. And last but not least, our April Pools Day. April Pools Day is a national event. This is done all over the United States, where pools focus on helping their communities learn about aquatic safety. Pools all over the United States are invited to participate and hold this fun-filled activity open to kids of all ages. We've reserved our day for April 11th. That's a Saturday from 2 to 5:30 p.m. There are no charges for these events. However, we offer a wide variety of demonstrations, from a swim lesson demonstration to lifeguard and CPR demonstrations. Past demonstrations have also included scuba, who will be there, kayaking, paddleboarding, and more. Last year, this event was well attended at our pool, and we were able to get information about our programs and encourage people to participate in the programs that we have here. We had close to 200 people come through, I believe, last year. It is a free event, but they go away with, they're able to try our swim lessons. They get a little 15-minute lesson with our instructors. They get to talk to the instructors. They get to discuss what they want, how our private lesson programs go, how our lesson programs go. And they got, Pat from the Dive Center was here, able to show the kids how to do scuba diving. And some of them actually got to tandem scuba dive with Pat, and they loved it.
Is this the 3rd year? Because I know Bill Patterson introduced this once I didn't know. So
We've done this. This has been going on for years and years and years. We had
Did they stop doing it?
We
for a
had a
while?
hiatus here
Gotcha.
where we didn't do it, but we used to do
Gotcha.
it back in the early 2000s. We did start
I
a
didn't
little
know
bit.
that.
Yeah, they're
Awesome.
a blast.
Yeah, very cool.
So are we doing anything like reaching out to the local Coast Guard unit over in Port Townsend or Port Angeles to come over for that? Have we reached out to
You
North?
have SAR here.
Ew.
Okay, we don't want to reach out to the guys that really don't know how to swim, and that's the Navy guys. We want to, hey, as the Marine here, I can say that.
We tried to reach out
Because
to
we
them,
jump off a
they
boat
were
and sink.
unable to attend, but we will try again.
North Whidbey Fire and Rescue, along with the Island County Sheriff's, operates the rescue boat on the north end of the island. It does all the rescues in the pass when SAR can't fly because it's bad weather. And we actually should reach out to SAR because I know that whole squadron would love to come down, and they would probably, no, they won't do that. It's too late. I was going to say they would probably bring the bird, but it's probably too late to get that notification in. It takes over a month to get the bird off the field.
And with these, we have to actually reserve our dates nationally, so I had to plug in.
No, that's fine. I just say in the future, though, in the future, SAR will be more than happy to land in the ample space provided by the ball fields next door in the city. And those guys and gals love it. They would love to come here and set up. North Whidbey Fire and Rescue and Island County Sheriffs would love to bring their boats out. And these are the folks that we call on every day, including rainy days with the SAR guys.
Alpine Rescue. I don't think the boats do that. Alpine Rescue.
So anyway, I think we need to reach out to those organizations.
I will try and give them another call.
All right, cool.
Since it came up, can I just, with the kayaks, since we don't have that as a separate.
It is an agenda item. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
All right, that's all for me for this week.
Any questions on facilities maintenance? We'll read employee of the month.
I wish to go to the head coach report.
Yes.
Although he's not here, I heard a discussion today that I want us to talk about. The coach asked from Erica money for awards for NWAC, and I think we need to discuss that because Erica commented back, and she's doing a fabulous job, but she said no more than $300. And since I know that one of the questions of tonight is we need to break into the reserve fund to make payroll, I think no awards for NWAC, we don't have the money.
I'm inclined to.
Do we need to make a motion on that, or does,
We're still in reports right now.
Right, but that's the place where I thought it would fit in. Was I wrong? Should I?
No, Erica, did you want to bring that up, Erica? Now, or did you want to bring that up during budget?
We can bring that up during budget.
Okay,
Commissioner Holly, is that okay with you?
that is completely fine with me.
All right,
I
so-
didn't know where else it should go.
No, that's okay. Anything else about NWAC?
I will say this, I watched Coach Taylor at a swim meet recently, and he seemed very engaged. I'd seen him I think that's the third swim meet I've actually seen him in, and I've seen a growth. I mean, the first one, of course, he was kind of a pedestrian, he only had 1 or 2 swimmers. Then the next swim meet, there were more kids, and then this one, there was even more. And he just seemed very engaged as a coach, so.
I think he's doing an awesome job.
No,
Everyone
no, I know
has said that.
Yeah,
I think
no.
he's doing a great
Yeah.
job.
We were just in the
I'm-
coach's report. I just wanted to put a plug in for him.
I don't hate NWAC. I just don't think we have the money to pay for awards.
You're good.
Okay.
No, you're good.
I want to second what Steve said, and I can speak because my kid was mentioned in this head coach's
You're
report.
related to her?
I am commonly known as Ashley Merrill's
It's
dad.
because Kim was in the Navy that she knows how to swim so well. I'm just pointing that out.
Kim wasn't in the Navy; she was in the Air
Air
Force.
Force.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's Air Force. There's a comment we'll make when it's not public record. Anyway, so I want to say that there has been, from all the swimmers, they and the parents, they appreciate what this board and the director has done with the new head coach. He's done a spectacular job, and noted improvement in all the swimmers' times. And we have Jaron coming back, and we've got some top swimmers that have come back, which is really nice.
Excellent.
Yes.
That's great.
I was intrigued on the one thing he said here, by the way, about coaches who are leaving and how he feels comfortable covering all those practice groups.
He has been doing a great job with that.
And I saw that and I was like, yes, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Maintenance?
Matt did put together a list of facility needs. And we're going to be hopefully looking at that again in more detail in the coming months.
It's under new business too.
Yep.
Are we gonna go back to, sorry, since we're, just quickly on the fitness club thing, do we have any stated intentions with that, or are we going to currently leave it on hiatus?
We can leave it on hiatus, or we can bring it back as a board. That was left on hiatus until the spring. Granted, spring is in 2 days. But we would need to put that under new business, not in the director's report.
Okay.
I would like to read the Employee of the Month, if I may. Sarah Baxter is our Employee of the Month. Sarah has a work ethic which is equal to few. She has taken on extra shifts and extra responsibilities for staff who have either been sick or have had to miss work for another reason. Sarah has not only filled in as a lifeguard, senior lifeguard, and swim lesson instructor, but has taken on extra cashiering efforts as well. Sarah's pleasant and happy demeanor brightens the workplace, and her smile and sense of humor makes her a favorite with our customers and staff alike. Sarah can be counted on to help out as she is able and has proven to be a tremendous asset to our facility. Thank you, Sarah, for all your hard work.
Good, thank you, Sarah.
And do I have paperwork to sign? I will. Awesome. And Julie, thank you for our public records request, getting us caught up and making such diligent hard work on this. Any further questions, comments on these staff reports? Very well. Unfinished business, the director's search. We have quite a few applicants for the director's position.
How many?
And that's a legitimate question, Steve, and unfortunately,
That's okay.
no, it's not. I do not remember, because I looked at that number right before I left. Unfortunately, I attended another meeting before here, and that's, in that process, I've forgotten. I want to say it's more than 10, yeah.
more than
It's easy, more than 10. It's between 10 and 15, and it's a decent pool. And I think we need to talk about the director's search as we get near the budget, because I think they directly reflect to each other. But we do have a good solid candidate base for us to look at if we appoint a committee. Pool temperature,
So, sorry, so we're gonna not talk about the process.
we can talk about the process now
Well,
if you'd like.
I think we should.
I think we
'cause
should.
I think if nothing else, and I know we touched on this last month, but we have people who are applying, and I just want to be sure that we're not also, if we have candidates that we may be interested in, that we're not going to lose them because we're not showing any interest
Right.
or what have you.
That's a good point.
Because we're supposed to, it closes at the end of this month, doesn't it?
Yes. Can we close it at the end of this month?
You said at the last meeting at the end of that month, so that would have been the end of February. Now we still have.
Oh.
No, but I thought I thought it was the end of March.
Yeah, I thought it was the end of March.
Okay, well, then we still had.
And so,
people
since
in,
we're not
so-
meeting again, we probably should figure out what we're going to do,
All right.
so that whoever you appoint to do it can get started on the 1st of April.
Because we have been acknowledging receipt.
They've all
Yes.
received an email letting them know that you guys would move to the phase of resume review shortly.
Okay. And no one has withdrawn or done anything at this
So
point?
I have a couple that have very diligently followed it, but nobody has withdrawn.
Okay, thank you.
And I haven't gotten anything from you.
Okay.
So in light of that, at the end of this month when it closes, how would the board like to proceed? In the past, we have had a subcommittee that's reviewed the applications and picked a top number, sometimes 5, sometimes 7, and out of those we've done interviews. And then we've narrowed it down to the top 2 in both cases, and Ashley did face-to-face interviews here the last time. We've included people from the community and generally 2 board members.
Last time, it was nobody from the community, it was the senior staff.
That's correct. And
Yeah.
I will say I had some concerns about that.
Yeah.
And but this is what we've done in the past. I'm sorry to put my opinion in there, so we need to decide which way we want to go forward when selecting a director.
And I think that sounds like but to me that sounds like a fine process. Since we hadn't really discussed the process, it seems like we kind of just needed to all be clear on what we thought the steps forward were. That sounds like a fine process, I think. I suppose it's up to the subcommittee to determine, are there questions what have you, but that's fine with me. That process sounds good.
I like the idea of having someone from the community. We can figure out a nice neutral person to do that, or 2.
We will look for a volunteer from the community to be on the subcommittee. What we can do is put it on the website. It would be my suggestion. That way it goes out to everybody, and put it on the Facebook site so that it has visibility, and ask if they would like to be part of the selection committee, to send a email or letter of intent, something short, to the interim director, and she can forward that to the board. And we will decide next month who we want to put on that subcommittee.
And in the meantime, will two of the board members
I would be more than happy to.
finding it down?
I will be more than happy to commit to throw some elect somebody. Actually, appoint is the correct word. Somebody to that. I'd like to start with Steve because he's done this in the past, and you two are already doing a lot as it is. So I'd like to ask which one of you two would like to volunteer to help Steve with this. So you guys can Rochambeau or
No. You know who wants to volunteer? I know he does. The missing member.
David can't be here because he got a last minute call to prepare the boat to go out.
Ooh.
So that is why
How
Dave.
long is he going to be gone?
He's not.
Oh.
Dave is going to be staying.
So he'll be here.
But
and he would love.
He won't be here until next month. It's going to
Oh.
be 3 to 4 weeks until he's finished with that.
Oh, never mind.
So unfortunately, he will not be available for the next 3 to 4 weeks. And to throw
What
him
is the timeline, though, Sean? I mean, so March 31st, the
is when it closes. We could probably look at the review of the initial candidates. I imagine 1 month would be more than enough to have you guys go through and review.
We should almost begin immediately.
You could begin now to start throwing resumes in
I'll do
priority.
it. I'll do it.
You sure? Okay,
Yeah,
Donna Sue
since
and
Wendy
Steve, I
didn't
appoint you
forward.
both. Commissioner Holly, Commissioner Hoffmeyer to the subcommittee for the new director search.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, sir.
You talked about a member from the public. I am inclined to agree that last time it got quite crazy having the entire senior staff involved in that process. But I do think that it would not be a bad idea for 1 or 2 at the most. Because where it became hard last time, I'll admit, is because they're picking their own boss. And it was the whole staff doing it. And it became quite
Cumbersome.
It did. And, I don't know what you guys think, but to have 1 or 2, it might not be a bad idea.
Here's what I think.
Okay.
Petty officers never get to choose their captain.
No, you're right.
That's as much as I think some members can be
Okay,
somewhat
but
objective.
Okay,
But they
and I think that's
choose.
fine, but this, I think that's fine. That's not the Navy, or any other branch of the service.
I know.
So I understand what you're saying, but I think that some input, it could be valuable. I think it would be valued. I think it's a matter of, it sounds like, and if I interpret this correctly, the process may not have been regimented enough to say, here's the feedback we're looking for from you, and now let's move on to this next part of the process. So it sounds like it kind of swirled a little bit, and if the process was clear enough, here's the feedback we're looking from you, thank you so much, and then either that's a consideration or whatever, but I think having that input is valuable as well.
I will clarify, they did not vote.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
they did not pick.
Okay.
They
The board-
basically put input in on the two candidates.
Gotcha.
Is how that went.
And the board, and remember to clarify further what Steve is saying, is that the board appoints
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
the next director.
So
Not
even the member of the
right.
public would have to be excused when it gets down to that.
It's just their
True.
suggestion.
It's input. It's
Right,
input.
that's exactly-
Or evaluation, or
Yeah.
however you
Right.
get, whatever you're asking for from them.
Exactly.
And did the staff make input after they met the guy? Is that they met him
No,
and did
no,
the
no.
tour?
No, really kind of what happened, well, what happened was, if I remember correctly, is we went through looking at the resumes, and there were about a dozen of them. And former Commissioner Majugal and I and the senior staff, we met and we went through all of those resumes and we narrowed it down to like 5, I think. And then I think at that point, if I remember right, the entire board narrowed it down to 2.
Yes,
And then we did invite the senior staff in on the interview process,
yes.
but they did not vote. You know, only the commissioners voted on that.
The interview process was attended by the
Yeah.
2 commissioners that were on the subcommittee and the whole senior staff with a member of the public. And then those suggestions were brought back to the whole board.
Yeah.
So,
I know.
So the whole board didn't do the interview?
Yes, they did.
Yeah,
Actually,
the
we
final
did.
two.
They did. The whole
Oh,
board
okay,
and the
okay.
senior staff.
That's correct.
were
We did
interviewed.
sit-
It was quite, I mean, it was kind
Was
of.
it only Erica and I were the only senior staff
Okay,
that were in for
okay.
the actual interviews?
Okay, well, thank you for correcting that.
that's right, we did have the whole board in here.
Yeah.
Mhm. We were all welcome to be, but we were the only two.
Because we were talking, and you can do that under Open Public Meeting Act,
Yeah.
because you're talking about qualifications for a job.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be open to the public.
So, I mean, my opinion would, for what it's worth, I would think that the member or 1 or 2 members, whatever we decide on from the public and the senior staff or whoever, that they are not even part of the interview process personally. That interview process would be done by the board members. And then because I'm kind of inclined to agree with what you're saying, that you know, I would hate to, he or she that gets the position to have built an opinion up about an employee because of a question that is asked in an interview
Mhm.
process.
And see, I guess perhaps I'm the lone dissenter here, but I don't agree with that just
Okay.
because part of it is, I mean, if we're expecting this person to be a professional,
Okay.
then it's, you know what, you're gonna have to work with lots of different personality types. I personally like the idea of people having inputs, even at whatever level, whether it's, here's some evaluation criteria, tell us what you think on a 1 to 5 or a whatever. Personally, I like that. If we or you or however that decision gets made, I'm not really sure, decide against it, that's okay too.
Actually, I get to, may I interrupt?
Please do. I was done.
Here's how we make that decision.
Okay.
And we kind of put the cart in front of the horse here.
Okay.
While the chair may appoint a subcommittee,
They
the
decide.
process,
Okay.
the process actually has to be
Okay.
decided upon
Okay.
by the board.
Okay.
So we will need a motion tonight on how we'd like to move forward.
Do we need to make a motion for the subcommittee, or you appointed a
No,
subcommittee already? so-
Subcommittee I can appoint.
Okay.
The process, though, we
Okay.
need a motion on.
And can we also, I think we could set some dates as well, so that it pushes us along. I don't know what your schedule's like, but it's like, I'm better if I have a date I have to do something by. But, we want to have this done by the end of April? Isn't there a budget problem? Is there a budget problem? So maybe,
I think that you guys need to do a budget meeting first.
okay.
That's my
I probably would
recommendation.
put dates in the motion if that's what you meant, because
Okay.
then I would probably
Well,
put.
we as the
framework.
committee will come up with our dates to work with
Decide on
then.
the process if nothing else.
Okay.
But yeah,
We do need to decide on a process.
You need to decide on the process, and I think then you guys need to have a budget review.
Okay.
for-
I make a motion that the subcommittee narrow whatever number we have down to the top 7. with input from the acting director. And should we narrow to top 7?
I'm going to interrupt,
Okay,
and without putting the acting director on the spot,
okay.
because she may or may not
Oh, that's right, never mind.
apply for it.
Okay,
And I do not believe that
That would not be
needs to be part
appropriate.
of public record
Yes.
on her decision, especially now. That's putting her
I
on the
forgot,
spot.
okay.
So can we leave her out of the?
yes, we can. Okay, I move that the subcommittee narrow it from whatever number to the top 7. And
So-
we bring the 7 to the full board then for.
Next month.
Yes, that next month's meeting to decide on the top, say 3.
So we're going to narrow, so the motion is we're going to narrow the field to the top 7 and bring the top 7 to the board for further consideration at next month's meeting.
Yes.
By virtue of, sorry, well, never mind.
Can I get a second?
A second.
Discussion.
So I'm a little unclear if that means that you will reach out to these people and interview them, and have an initial phone discussion with them?
No, it'll be based on what they gave us.
So it would be on a resume review.
Okay.
Yes,
So to clarify, that would be on a resume review.
Yes.
Without an interview.
Now, when do we
Yes.
bring in, like you mentioned, a member of the public and possibly
Well, the motion is right now just for the subcommittee
It's reduction.
to reduce the
Okay.
applicant pool to
Just take-
7,
okay.
correct?
can I?
You may
'cause I
amend it, it's your
forgot.
motion.
I would like to amend that I will include the member of the public.
Okay.
How many do we want, 1 or 2? 1 member of the public to be included in the resume review.
Okay, so I have an amendment to the motion. Do I have a second for the amendment?
They never.
The-
Unsure.
Okay,
Unsure.
the amended motion will die.
Okay,
The initial motion of the subcommittee to review the 15 and bring it by resume review down to 7 is still on the floor.
When it gets down to that 7, that's when I personally would like to see maybe this group of people kind of have input, provide us input.
Mhm.
I think that you and I can narrow that down to that 7 where it's manageable.
fairly easily.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would be potentially supportive of a motion that included what we thought the whole process was, or a little bit more than just the first step. Because I think that's what you're really talking about is the first step. And I think it's, if we want to say specifically, this is what we're going to do, and then this is what we're going to do, and then this is what we're going to do, we could agree to the whole process.
You guys got to flip a coin to break all the ties?
I'm looking around for I need like a whiteboard. Okay.
Sorry, Sean.
Oh, dude.
It's not easy.
I think we can.
Why, are you looking to amend your motion again? I'm going to ask,
Let's just kill mine and then have Wendy suggest what I'm not exactly sure what she wants. I mean,
Well, it's not about.
I can't-
I mean,
okay.
we can, if we're ready to vote, we can vote on the motion on the table.
we
Then
need to
that's fine.
vote for the motion on the table, because
Yes,
there is a
fine.
motion on the
Okay.
table. So is there any further discussion on the motion on the table?
I personally think it's not comprehensive enough. That's what I was suggesting, but,
and I know that.
okay.
I got that.
Any further discussion on the motion on the table? All right, all in favor of the motion on the table?
Aye.
All against?
Nay.
Okay, Commissioner Hoffmeyer? I have Commissioner Shingleton?
Nay.
Commissioner Holly?
Aye.
Motion fails 2-1. Any further motions in regard to the director's search? And if nobody minds, I would like to call a 5-minute, if there are no objections, I would like to call a 5-minute recess.
No objection.
5-minute recess, starting at, I need to give a time, 8:45.
How do you turn them off?
We'll call the meeting back in order at 8:50 after a 5-minute recess. Thank you very much for the 5-minute recess. We're talking about the director's search.
Sorry, so, yeah.
Do you have them both on?
Do I have what? Yes, ma'am, they are both on. Thank you. Oh. Yes, it is. It's counting. Yeah, me too. I think it's recording. All right, any further motions, comments, or concerns about the director's search?
I have a motion in process here, and so I'm just gonna wing it a little bit here, but I move that the commissioners on the director's search committee review the resumes submitted and reduce to the strongest, to what they feel is the strongest candidate. I wouldn't want to put a number on that, but what they feel, who they feel are viable candidates. And from there engage members of the public and senior staff to interview and evaluate those candidates, and have the commissioners on that subcommittee reduce that to 2 to 3 viable candidates, which would then be reviewed by, or which would then be interviewed by the board, and additional staff members if necessary. I'm not sure. Oh, just the board. Sorry, I couldn't remember that one. See, this is the part I don't have written down. But have those 2 to 3 candidates reviewed by or interviewed by the board. Bring them here, hopefully, to do so, and
Final selection.
final selection.
Do I have a second?
Can I gotta ask you that second
Yeah.
part, I got
okay.
trailed off. So,
I trailed off.
So, I guess I have, before we discuss,
Yeah.
I second.
There we go. Commission is second. Now we would discuss.
So let me get this right. The first part, the subcommittee narrows it down to what we feel is are viable candidates. So we're not locked
Yeah.
into a number, which
Yes.
I like that.
Right.
What was the second one?
The second part was then, that's when you engage members of the public and senior staff
To interview those viable
Okay.
candidates.
and interview and
How do we
evaluate.
determine who those are going to be? Who will do that?
We will have by that time, we will have interest
Okay,
by,
okay,
there's no time limit on the motion.
okay,
So that second part
okay.
can play out after the board's regular scheduled meeting for next month.
And then that group will take it down to the 2 or 3, and once again, not locked in.
And actually so at least the way that I believe I stated the motion, it would be that you would take inputs, but that the two of you would decide, the 2 people on the 2 commissioners on the subcommittee would decide the final candidates.
Okay.
So with inputs and evaluation from,
The
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
problem that, I mean, and possibly could happen is if we had a different 2 or 3. What do we do in that case? So
Oh, if we don't agree.
Yeah, because there are only
well, I
2
think
of us.
that's all about the process that you
Okay.
all decide to
Gotcha.
use.
Okay.
Right?
Good.
Which
Okay.
I would think is there. So if you decide to do something, hey, let's rate these people numerical and see where we fall out and then have discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, there are other
Awaiting.
ways you can do it,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
But I think that would be up to you guys to decide.
Okay.
Is that fair? Okay.
Okay.
Further
Are you
discussion.
comfortable with that?
I actually am.
Okay.
And there's no timeline to the motion, so the public interest and the senior staff can be appointed we can either call a special meeting if you guys feel the need to,
Okay,
or it can wait until next month's regular meeting.
okay,
Either option is up to the subcommittee.
okay,
The subcommittee will report back to the chair, and the chair will move for either a special meeting or, upon the recommendation of the subcommittee, to wait until next month's regular scheduled meeting.
okay.
Any other further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you. Pool temperature, any updates on the pool temperature? I know we fluctuated anywhere this month. I come in and ask just about every day. And we fluctuate anywhere between 81 to 84. 80 to 80. We were 80 a couple days. Oh, the aerobics ladies must have
They
been.
thought they were dying.
Yes.
The days it was 84, we have patron comment cards, thank you so much, it was so nice.
Then we got our gas there.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, Commissioner Hawley and I attended a meeting with the pool staff from Anacortes, and Commissioner Hawley went so far as to go all the way up to Bellingham and talk to the folks up there. And every other pool we've talked to has the exact same problem. And they have the exact same complaints. And it was funny because we went to the meeting with the Anacortes, the Fidalgo pool staff, and one of our patrons was over there, and Marilyn Stafford said, oh yeah, she'll be here for 2 weeks and complain about our pool temperature, and then she'll be back over at your pool for another 2 weeks, and then she'll be back here after 2 weeks. And so this woman chooses to flip-flop back and forth until she gets the pool temperature she wants. And not that that's a bad idea. It's something that happens, and we've heard that at many pools. It was one of the things we were going to talk about later when it comes to boiler needed repairs. But I will say this: Mark Foster, who did the grant, he's asked to come back and make recommended changes that we can do for a limited amount that will have savings as far as what we spend as budget-wise on our gas and heating, which is a huge part of where our budget has gone. People always complain about our M&O account, when in actuality it's our gas and electric to heat the place. And Mark said he'll come back next month. He's on vacation this month. He apologizes, but he doesn't, because he's happy to be on vacation. But he said he would be more than happy to come back at next month's regular meeting to talk to all of us. I wanted to extend that invitation with your concurrence.
Oh, that'd be great.
All right, so we will bring Mark back next month to talk about ways that will help us further regulate the pool temperature and come with a more consistent.
May I
Please
offer a recommendation?
Yes, sir.
That when we bring him in, let's bring him the very, very first item, because the last time he was here, he had to listen to discussion that really just he didn't need to listen to.
I will move Mark Foster as the first item on our next month.
Before public comments would be nice, if we could possibly.
If there's no objections from the board, I will do that.
Sure. No objections.
I will put him on next month. First agenda item. Thank you,
So
Commissioner.
he'll be here in April, the
Yes.
April meeting.
I know. Such a nice guy.
Very nice. So we will have him here to discuss that. So any further comments, questions, or concerns about pool temperature?
Did we ever were we able to do a comparison on the cost we asked for last month, or is that still in the works?
Still in the works.
Okay.
Anytime that we go up approximately a degree, we look at another $800 to $1,000
Have we
for a month?
per month.
How much did you say?
Anywhere between 8 and 9,000.
So 1 degree temperature increase.
And we've noticed with the fluctuation with Matt having to manually monkey around with the temperature, we've noticed that our gas bills have gone from, well, I know we had one that was $5,000 for the month, and then the next time it was 8. So we need to find a way to get that so it can be regulated and it will bring those costs down, because we cannot afford an $8,000.
That would be the $6,500 heat exchanger software. That's number 1 on his list. And I will clean this up and get it out to all of you ASAP.
That's really important, because not only will it allow our patrons to experience a less fluctuating water temperature, but a more regular water temperature, but it should help our bills, our energy bills tremendously. Because I just about passed out when I saw that one come in.
this may sound silly, but we mentioned the rash guards the one time, and I know they do help. I think that especially older people may not understand what they are, and to know, I mean, no fault of their own, but if they don't, they might not know that they would help. Is there any way we could put like, you know, some kind of flyer out where they can, I mean, where, you know what I'm saying, where they can see what one is and where they could possibly purchase them and.
Could Michelle,
Yeah.
and I hate to interrupt, may I?
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve. Michelle Reedy, can we ask Michelle to maybe get that out to all the aquatics folks, the aerobics folks? Because that's generally, she works with most of the groups, doesn't she?
She does. Yeah.
Would that work?
I think so. Just a thought, yeah, I don't know.
And if I can toss in here, there is a company, we found that in our pool environment, that rash guards made out of polyester are the only ones that last more than a month.
Yeah.
With regular use in the water, which our instructors regularly are in the water probably as much as our aerobics, if not maybe even the aerobics ladies might even be in more depending on how many times they use the pool. The polyester rash guards, if you're buying them just separately online, you're running anywhere between $25 and $30 per rash guard for a pure polyester one, which lasts several months as opposed to a couple of weeks. There is a company where I have ordered my polyester rash guards from that give me a bulk price, and they do come down substantially down to around $20 a piece for the polyester ones. I know that
Can you have that discussion with Michelle?
I could have that discussion with Michelle, and it might be something that we could put an order in for them as I put them in for my instructors. It's
I mean,
a
if
possibility
it
as well.
helped, that would be awesome, you know.
It would save them from having to buy them individually, because they get spendy at that point.
All right. Further questions, comments, or concerns about the pool temperature? No. Closed investigations. We had numerous investigations that we looked into. One on behalf of a family that we closed last month at a special meeting, and one from an outside agency. It was an allegation against one of our instructors, and all I can say is that it turned out to be totally false. The Oak Harbor Police Department looked at it, and it was totally negated. And without mentioning anything, I would like to say that our staff member that was involved handled themselves in a professional manner that was exemplary and held the district in very good order. So please pass our thanks on to that staff member. The investigations are all closed. Any questions about any of that? Comments? No. Program review.
That's us.
That's you.
And so one of the things I had thought I was going to do today, and I'm not going to do it, was actually show this big spreadsheet of comparative fee changes, because that's part of the whole program review is going to be the fees everybody else was charging. It was way too complicated for this for now, and it's just so you know. But I did want to.
So it's still being worked on.
It is still being worked on, and but I wanted to make sure that the board is aware. We are continuing with our research. An adult day pass that in district or out of district. So Oak Harbor for an adult day pass just to come in and do one session is $3.50, and Anacortes at $6, and neither one of us charge an out of district fee for just the day pass.
Okay.
Bellingham is $4.50
It's not a day, it's a session. Right?
It's a session, yeah. So it's like you come in and you can lap swim, and aerobics is separate. But anyway, Bellingham is $4.50, $5 if you're from out of district, and Port Townsend is $5, and they don't charge out of. As far as I could tell, they don't ever charge out of district fees. We do for various programs. For aerobics, adult aerobics, one session, Oak Harbor is $4, Anacortes is $6, Bellingham is $5, Port Townsend is $6. So we're the lowest ones. And so talking with Erica and with Julie on how people pay for aerobics, because I didn't understand it. I've never done an aerobics class, so I didn't know. People will come in and they're supposed to pay for every session they do. And are you supposed to pay, since aerobics costs $4, you pay $5 if you're going to do 2 or 3 sessions, is that correct?
The way it presently is, they would pay $4 per class.
Per class.
So
But
if they were staying for all 3 classes, they would pay $12.
Yeah, so, but people aren't doing that. Some people, they'll come in, they'll pay the $3.50, and they'll lap swim, they'll slide into the aerobics class, they'll go sit in the tub, they'll slide into another aerobics class, they'll go do something else, they'll slide into the next aerobics class, and they're staying all morning, but having paid the $3, or using a punch card, which is the same thing, only paying even less money. So, I had questions that I would like from the board to answer and give me some marching orders before we sit down with the members of the public in a focus group and come up with some pricing ideas. Here are my questions, and then we can talk about it. Should all pool passes include an in and out of district price? 1. 2, should we have a family rate? How big is a family? 3, should there be a multi-session daily rate? Because that was what the staff had actually come together and recommended some price changes. And they recommended having a multi-session daily rate. So remember, we're paying $3.50 now, and they recommended that was, do you remember what it was? $5, I think, for the multi-session. Is what they recommended. And that would include somebody doing 3 aerobics classes, lap, sauna, tub, anything they want.
So then they could bounce back and forth like you were talking about.
Right.
Okay.
So that would be a multi-session daily rate, and have available, either make the punch card rate reflect that rate, or somehow make it so that, you know, you are either you pay once and it's for everything that's here, or, you know, and everyone does that. But what if someone comes, I do think if we do that there should be someone who shows up at noon and they're going to have an hour and a half in the pool, because at 1:30 everybody gets kicked out of the pool. There should be I'm here to lap swim only, so I'm going to pay a lot less than somebody who showed up at 8 and can spend the morning in the pool. You know, so that's question 1. Should all pool passes include an in and out of district price? I think yes. I think the taxpayers are paying for the pool. And so if you're from out of the district, your taxes are not supporting the pool. And I think, you know, pay a little bit more. Yes, ma'am.
Are you including like just daily admissions in that, or strictly the punch cards and the unlimited passes?
I'm including the daily pass as well. Is that, do you know something?
It would be very hard to man that at the front.
Oh, why?
Because then we're asking everybody, you know, do you live in Oak Harbor? Every single person through the door every time. And it's
Don't
on
have to
our
live in
system.
Oak Harbor to be part of the district.
Well,
But
you know,
meaning
but
you do have to have an Oak Harbor zip code.
Yes.
Because I live in the district and I live not in the city, but
Right.
I have a
And I mean, at
98277.
that point, it becomes very much on our system. I think it's tricky to do that on daily admission for every single person coming through the door.
So that's why I wondered why we didn't have it.
Especially when you have the
You know,
one
it makes sense to do
parking lot
it
Friday.
for punch cards, the
Okay,
annual passes, because we're actually putting them in our computer system.
Okay.
And we can ask for a piece of ID or something with their address to verify that.
And then we're not alienating somebody by saying, where do you live, and
Mhm.
asking them to test their integrity.
Well, and like you said, you know, just because you live in Oak Harbor, or we do have a patron that comes in that he has a Coopville address, but like the way that the tax line is drawn, he pays taxes for our district.
The same one with Fuca essentially.
So, you know, there are those.
Does Wanda Fuca have a,
It's part of us, and they've got a Coopville zip code.
I did not know that. Because
It's
I did,
essentially the Oak Harbor School District, essentially.
Exactly.
it is the Oak
It
Harbor
is,
School
yeah.
District. But I have a friend who, she's on the other side of Olson Road, and so she has a Coopville address. And when they moved, her kid was supposed to go to Coopville School, but they let her kid keep going to Oak Harbor. But she's on that Coopville side. I didn't realize that
Yeah,
Wanda
I just
Fuca
see
was.
that being really challenging for a daily
It's like
admission,
in the middle of
but
the street someplace.
Okay, I now understand why it's done that way. So the daily ones then, does everyone sort of agree, let's not bother with the, okay,
I think
Okay.
as is, right?
that makes sense.
Yes.
That does,
Like the zoos, they got a price and then a discounted price if you live in district, and you can ask for a discount, otherwise you don't get it. That's the way it is with the zoos and everything.
It's actually a good point.
yeah.
They seem to make do.
oh. We will talk about that at the
That is a
focus
thought.
thing. That's, okay. Should we have a family rate? Yes, because talking to the, but then the question is, how big is a family?
What is a family?
What is a family? We've gotten in this discussion in past board meetings.
It's a
Steve,
qualifier.
you get into a, yeah.
I mean, so, yeah.
Because we started to, as Steve was saying, we got rabbit holed really quickly.
Yeah, I think Bellingham and Anacortes basically define it, and I think one was 4 and one was 5. And they don't even go to how many adults. They say 5 people are in your family. If you have more, you have to pay extra because you have more people that are going to be taking up room in the pool.
And I know in Snohomish, I think it's a family of 4, defined as 2 adults and 2 children. And, they state that it has to be members of the same household. I don't know how they, enforce that.
Well, members of the same household keeps somebody from bringing all of their friends and saying their cousins.
That is true. And
We get that a lot.
I'm just saying that in the past, we have had this issue with, when we've tried to define a family. I think it can be done, and obviously is at other places.
The WAC actually defines family pretty well, actually.
WAC?
Yes, it does.
The WAC does.
Washington.
Washington, whatever code. It's basically, the RCWs and the WAC basically set all of our laws in place.
Administrative, yeah.
And it defines what a family is. Because, the definition of a family has changed dramatically over the past, decade, to where it now includes domestic partners and, and you've got to, I feel we have to be very careful with that because, we don't want to put ourselves in a situation to where we don't,
I think if someone wants to come in and buy a family pass, I don't care. But I'm just saying, if someone comes and says, I want to buy the family pass, and it's me and my 25 kin, and it's like, that's great. We have a family pass. You get the first 4 for this price, and for each additional one of those 25 kin, this is what it's going to, and that, I don't have a problem with how many people you want to put on your family plan. Do that, but I think
as long as it doesn't double. I think I know what you're saying.
no, and they were like 75 cents more per each kid or whatever. Because I want this to be family friendly. I want families to think, let's go to the pool. Because I think you were the one who was telling me the story that some people, they come to the pool and this is what they do with their extra dollar that they have, or
They're literally counting out their coins at the counter, and just in conversation with them, this is literally all they can afford to do. And if the kid wants a quarter candy, no, I spent all my money to bring you here, son. I can't do that.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say, why don't we ask the
focus group
to look at definitions of family and bring recommendations back to the board.
Okay.
I think we also have to understand what the financial impact of that is, both to the individual as well as to
the district,
the revenue of the district, and just make sure that we're making good choices.
Yes.
Whatever that means.
Mm-hmm.
I think it needs to be something that we do aware.
Yeah. Okay. And the multi-session daily rate. Do we have ideas on that?
I like that though.
I like having, if you come in at 8 in the morning or another option is, and something that I talked about is, you say, I'm going to take an aerobics class. So you pay for your aerobics class and you get a card that has a number on it that's plasticized or whatever you call that stuff. Laminated, thank you. I knew that word like 2 days ago.
I know you did.
So a laminated card, or you say, I'm going to take the 3 aerobics classes, and I have my annual pass, so I can take as many aerobics classes as I want to. Or with the annual pass, do you have to pay for the? I can't remember because I don't do aerobics classes.
Included.
They are included. So I have an annual pass. I'm going to go slide into 3 aerobics classes. I get handed 3 things. When I slide into the aerobics class, I hand one of my cards to Michelle. And she then knows exactly how many people have been taking her aerobics classes. But that is a way of making sure, people aren't sliding around between the sessions through that morning period. But that's one way. Or the other way is, we're going to charge, if you're going to come at 9 in the morning just to swim laps, you're going to have to pay the same rate as the person who's going to do an aerobics class and swim laps. I being someone who's always just gotten an annual pass or whatever, I I don't get the whole single-use thing because I've just never done it, but I don't like the idea of having to, you know, that,
I kind of like the idea of a session. Okay, if you're here for the morning session and the afternoon session, it's one price period.
Okay.
That's just my thought, because
But are we saying then that we would do away with I'm just here to lap swim and that, I mean,
and that's something to look at, because why are we asking somebody who's just here to lap swim to pay for the aerobics? Because they're supplementing aerobics then,
Right,
and not
exactly.
taking part of that
Right,
program.
Right. Yeah,
I think it's gonna. I think maybe your idea with the cards or more accountability by staff.
That will at least separate out the aerobics, which has, because the lifeguards have to be here regardless. I asked that specific question. The lifeguards have to be here because the aerobics instructors are not lifeguards.
Right.
So the aerobics people need to pay separate, in my opinion, to help pay for the instructor, the aerobics instructor. Everything else is here. And so to me, it's like if you lap swim and then you go sit in the hot tub, that's all one thing and that's all fine. You should only just have to pay extra for aerobics.
I agree with that.
Is that
And I
okay?
think part of what Erica and I were looking at when we started down that road is trying to find a middle ground where we're collecting a little more money than we are with people that just disregard the rule, and also giving a break to people that want to come for 3 classes. Because am I really going to pay $12 a day to go to aerobics? Probably not. Am I going to happily pay 7 or 8? Maybe.
Well, maybe what
So
we'll
I think
do is,
that's kind of where our thought process was.
and I think we can come up with some kind of idea that if you pay for 2 aerobic sessions, you get the 3rd one for free. Or some, you know.
We can't give away things for free.
Oh,
But
okay.
additionally, okay, I really want to be the fun one sometime.
Yeah.
I'm not sure when that is, but it's not today apparently. But I just want to be the fun one sometime.
You never get to be the fun one.
I know, but I think, I know that's lovely. I can hear it. But I think the other thing that we need to do though is so, and a number was already thrown out, and I know that was just a suggestion, but I think we need to ensure it's financially viable.
Yeah,
And
that's
that's, I mean, and it may be, I'm not saying it's not, but I feel like
Yes.
that's a slippery slope where we're trying to, on the one hand, say we need to be responsible, we need to have, program a little more information and potential responsibility, that I think we would need to look at data and costs before setting a price. Because again, I sound like the not fun one. I think some of this, there's some really good ideas here that could change how people use the pool or are currently using it, but it would reflect better what they're doing. And I think that's really great. I just think we have to ensure that it's
I think we gotta be careful too that we don't alienate people, because there are programs that perception is in the community that for example, NWAC, that the kids are not paying at all for lap swimming or for lane space. Perception, reality, we can talk about that later, but if we start charging more for all these other programs, but and I know we're going to go down that road. I just don't want to get the cart before the horse.
Well, and that's part of overall looking at, trying to look at and trying to potentially structure things differently, and the numbers that we look at for each program to understand the health of each program, however we define it.
Perfect.
Right?
And that's what we are looking at.
Perfect.
Everything.
Awesome.
These were
Thank you.
questions that came up to me. There was like, I wanted
Perfect.
input from you guys
Thank you.
before I go to this focus group and they get me all over here when
Gotcha.
you guys are like,
Understood.
get back in lane.
And something I hear all the time at the front is, why do I pay $3.50 to come, or why do I pay $4 to come for aerobics for 1 hour when I pay $3.50 to come and lap swim from 6 to 1:30? They see that price difference for that long session versus this very short
It's
session.
kind of like what Donna Sue said. I think it's like you're paying for the instructor.
Yeah.
Yes, which is what I always explain to them.
Yeah. You are paying for the
But
insurance.
and it's the same thing. $3.50. Sean's giving me the finger.
Yep.
And
Cutting
so,
you off.
Just really quickly, so you said before the focus group, but one of the items that we had talked about last time was talking to each of the program, yes, the folks who run those programs
Yes.
prior to doing any of that.
Yes.
Just wanted to restate that was the
Thank you.
intention.
And hopefully that that will be our next big thing that we,
So you've got a guideline, and now you're going to go back to make sure we're clear for the minutes. You have a guideline now with how we stack up to other like pools in the area.
yes.
And now you're going to go to each program head and talk to them about how their program stacks up to like programs in the area.
Or about their program, yeah. Whether, how they stack up, but also just what they're doing and how they're doing.
Exactly.
Yes.
What- financially and how they do manage
Yeah.
themselves and how, okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Any further on program review?
Just looking at numbers right now for
Yeah.
the past budgets, or past, rather, P&Ls, and trying to kind of segment those, which is enjoyable.
All right. Questions, comments, or can I move on? All right, we're moving on to budget. Before we start on budget, the first thing we're going to talk about is we need to set a budget meeting, a specific budget meeting. And that needs to be between now and our next regularly scheduled meeting in April.
Do we want it on a weekend or weekday? Every
And
night?
you know, and that's a good question.
That's where to start with that.
To me, it doesn't matter.
My weekends are packed with swim meets.
I thought, yeah, so
Okay.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
would it be best to do it, I mean, if on a weekday during the morning or afternoon, or all day?
What days work best? And here's something we have to honestly ask: what days work best for everybody? When can people get time off?
I can be there during the week when you guys need me to be.
Okay.
Can't do it March 27th or 28th, that's only 2 days.
Okay.
Gonna go watch a Maroon Pie, yeah.
Okay, you're the one who has a more hard schedule, so tell us when your open days are.
Okay. April 1st, April 2nd, April 6th,
These are dates you can or cannot?
April 7th.
The first is Tuesday?
It's a Wednesday,
It's a
so.
Wednesday, I cannot do that afternoon for certain, but,
Okay.
It's probably good
I
we
cannot
don't
do
do it
the
on
second.
Fool's Day.
What's that?
I think-
Just-
April Fool's Day, maybe?
The 2nd or the 7th work,
The 2nd does not work for me.
how about the 7th?
The 6th or the 7th would be fine.
Steve?
6th is on a,
Monday,
or
7th is
Tuesday.
on a Tuesday. What day works best for you?
do it on a Monday.
6th?
The 6th does not work for me.
Okay.
Is there any way you can do it on the 7th at all?
Yeah.
You sure?
I'm there, baby.
All right.
Is that work okay for you?
7th?
That's, no, yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
In the morning? Let's start at 8, 8:30,
That sounds really enjoyable. Yeah, no, that's
8 o'clock.
I would like to get my kid to school first.
What time does she go to school?
I can drop her off at 8:30.
8:30?
Let's do it 9 o'clock then.
9 o'clock on the 7th, on a contingent upon our CPA being able to be there for us.
We will give him a call tomorrow.
All right, and once we confirm it with him, if you could send out a notice to all board members, that would be great.
Do you want me to try and get the room at the Oak Harbor Library?
Can we get the room at the Oak? Is anybody averse to meeting at the Oak Harbor Library? It's away from the pool.
Are you talking about that little room?
It's not a little room, it's a huge room.
It's right next to
Where the
bathrooms. and-
candidate forum?
Yes,
Yeah, what day is it?
7th. It's a Tuesday.
Yeah, I know the room you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
That way we've got plenty of room for the public if they want to come, plenty of room for us. It's a good sized room. It's away from the pool so we don't interfere with programs.
Yeah, I like that.
I will put in the request.
All right, so potential meeting for the budget and budget review will be on the 7th. During that meeting, we will discuss the reconciliation of the budget from the last year, where the budget stands, a way forward, and assisting the interim director with a proposed budget for next year.
For this year.
For this year, that's correct. For changing, amending our budget for this year. I stand corrected. Thank you,
And
Ms. Vice Chair.
you guys will have suggestions in terms of things that you're already aware of. Is that accurate? Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just making sure that that's a fair
Yes,
expectation.
ma'am.
We will.
Commissioner
Is
Hoffman?
this open to the public?
Yes.
That's what I thought it
Yes.
was.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
Yeah, I thought so, yeah.
Yep.
yeah. I just-
That's
Oh,
why,
yeah.
that place is,
Yeah.
is
Gotcha.
huge, and there's
Okay.
chairs
Thank
and.
you.
We'll make
So-
sure that we get the notices out.
If we decide from Ron, if we hear back from him tomorrow, we should be able to give almost 2 weeks' notice.
You
which
buy,
is-
I mean, to bring a Starbucks?
I'll bring in coffee and donuts.
Okay.
So-
And can we,
Don't Sue open us hot chocolate?
so.
You guys owe me coffee, by the way, just side note, just thought I'd throw that out there.
Hot
I owe
chocolate.
you nothing. Get out of there.
So what are we gonna ask for the budget meeting?
Well, I believe so the current P and L that we have, the budget is based on the yearly
That's the
totals.
full year, yes.
Okay, if we could get something that is, let's call it prorated or what have you.
Okay.
Or percent, I mean, if we could just see a reflection of, I mean, I get that if it's on track, it should be, at this point, it should be 16 to 17% of budget. I get that, but I feel like it just might be helpful if we actually saw that, because I know, for me, that would be parity with what we used to get. If there's a way to work in both, I'd love that too, but
Maybe.
perhaps not. Something that just is a quick, kind of, a quick, this is on, off, whatever.
Well, and in QuickBooks, when you enter it in, I can enter in a different amount for each budget item, like per month. There are things that clearly don't divide out evenly by 12.
Right.
Like, the levy deposits and things that
Sure.
we're gonna have greater expense at certain times than others. The budget that I was given to input into QuickBooks does not break any of that down in any way and did not offer guidance. So that's kind of why it is the way it is right now.
Okay, and that's, I'm not trying to be,
Yeah, not that we can't fix it, but.
no, absolutely, and if there's something else that if there's a different way that would give us the same quick result, that's fine too. I just think it would be helpful if
Yes.
we're comparing things,
Yeah, we'll work on it.
which I expect to do. Okay, thank you, sorry.
No, that's why we're talking about it. All right, so budget meeting set tentatively and
Starting at 9 to go till,
finished.
okay, the library does close at a certain time. We may have to relocate after dinner or something, but, okay.
I don't,
We're gonna be done by then.
we better be done, yes.
I would say
before
so,
then.
or my brain will explode.
So let's
Okay.
just put 9 as the start time.
9, okay,
Will
to
they deliver
finish.
pizza there for lunch?
All right. Other subjects on the budget.
Oh, I had brought up, and you said, was talk about a budget? The $300 for awards?
Yes, now would be the time to talk about that.
Okay, I think with the budget the way it is, we can't afford $300 for awards.
What are the awards for?
Coach is doing a end of short course season awards for the swimmers that have been participating. Just, like what's been done in the past. And wanted to get some ribbons and some little awards from just swimmer morale boosters.
As a swim dad, I'd like to chime in. I think that the coach should go to the parents first about that before he comes to the board, and just because of our current budget situation. I don't know how the rest of the board feels about that, but I know.
I like that idea very much.
I understand why, and I appreciate the intent, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think if things
Yes.
were different, I don't think there would be,
Right.
if there was a different situation, I think we want to support him. Unfortunately, I think we're not in a position, to say that this is, because, was this money that was originally in the budget, or this is an addition?
There is an awards budget.
Okay.
I don't believe that it's reflected in the 2015 version.
Then it's not in there.
Okay.
Everything's lumped together in that budget, so you
Okay.
can't really tell what is supposed to
It's
be
not
what
broken
in
down
the
at all.
NOAC.
But there has been an awards budget before.
You can be creative on awards too. I mean.
That's what I was gonna say. We
I think a lot of
stuff
parents
that
would be willing
we
to
could-
donate.
Well, that,
I really
and
do.
I know it's not an award, but you remember the Painterman invite down at Marysville? You remember how they used to, instead of giving out ribbons, they would give out a paint steer stick, right? It was from a paint store in town, so they had the name of the paint store, but then they would write on it, first place, and that was, instead of a ribbon, you got that little paint steer stick. And I thought they were awesome. And it was like, but it was the
Yeah.
Painterman invite. you know?
Oh, that's kind of
And
funny.
Special Olympics, Pinky, she gives out, she makes these awards out of a mason jar cap and kind of glues these blue ribbons on it, and she writes like, the best smiler or.
Right.
But if the parents could maybe have a team building thing where they get together and they kind of make the awards.
It's too bad we don't have a booster club.
Well, that was a suggestion to them.
Little rocks off of a beach where you paint on them and,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Do we need a resolution, or, I mean, not a resolution?
No, we don't.
Or that's
No,
just a
and
direction?
It's just,
Okay.
all of us made our suggestions. At the end of the day,
I
it's
agree
up
with
to,
that too, yeah.
actually, by inaction, we have given our action. We would have to amend the budget to include awards, because it's so vague, it doesn't include awards. For right now, we'd have to amend the budget to include awards, which by not making an amendment, we've given the director the way forward with the coach. Now, we've given suggestions along with our inaction, which is more than we need to do.
Yeah.
So,
But I would suggest also though that if we feel that there is time and relevance in terms of the budget meeting, that we have that part of that discussion,
With the
include
coach.
that. Exactly.
Yes.
You're right, and that he have, again, I'm not trying to make work for anybody, but he have a proposal for what he would like to see, so that it can be, while we're juggling things around or that we're moving things, assuming that we do that as part of the outcome of that budget meeting, that we know what his intentions are, or that what he would like to have. So that would be really helpful. I would say additionally, and I think we're moving on, I would personally, and I think we've already said this, but the roller hockey thing, I think that needs to be part of that budget discussion as well.
I agree.
So I
Yes.
don't think there's
I
any,
agree.
okay.
I agree. Absolutely.
We have one additional item with budget. Ms. Director? No,
The elephant in reserves.
the elephant in reserves.
The elephant is,
I wish it was an elephant.
I respectfully request that the commission board
Board.
allow the transfer of $30,000 from our reserve fund to our M&O fund to cover costs of bills and payroll over the next month. I would also like to see the board develop a plan to replenish these funds as they are going forward with the budget.
Okay, so we have a request for money from the reserve funds from the director, interim director, for a short M&O account. The second request is noted for long-term strategic planning, and it is also going to be just talked about under new business. Do we have a motion out there for the director's request? Because we would have to make a motion for this.
I make a motion that we accede to the interim director's request in both parts. That we allow the transfer and that we,
Develop.
I have to make the motion in the words?
I'm going to stop you. While the director can make the suggestion that we pay back the reserves, the director may not make a suggestion for a motion that the board makes.
I'm so glad you know these rules.
If you
Okay.
would like to make a motion that the board
I
pays
make-
back the reserves, we can
Okay.
do that, but it can't
I-
have the director
okay.
tied to it.
Oh, yeah, that's, okay. Blah, blah, blah. Well, then I move that we allow the transfer of $30,000 from the reserve fund, is that, okay, to M&O account, and that we further will plan for its replenishment when we have our budget meeting.
I have a motion to move $30,000 from the reserve fund to the M&O account, and that we address replenishing the $30,000 during our budget meeting to the reserve account. I have a second discussion.
what happens, I'm just gonna,
Yeah.
what happens if we don't?
We have to come up with, if we don't what?
If we don't make the transfer?
Oh, thank you.
Yes, and sorry, and the response was that we will not make payroll.
We will not make payroll. Okay. Further discussion.
Now, isn't it because we were expecting money from the county that we did not get, so we'll get it next?
It's partially that, and it's partially due to the discovery and consequence of some reconciliations that ended up being shorter than we anticipated that they would
With an M&O account.
be. With our M&O account, that is correct.
Okay.
And so so, I'm sorry, I'm trying to understand what that means, whether there were, I'll just ask the question directly, is there money missing?
There is no money.
Okay.
There is no money as such missing. However, some monies were entered twice. And it
So we
wasn't-
overstated.
It wasn't just once.
Okay.
There were several entries that were entered twice. The result was that we thought we had more money than we actually
So we
did.
overstated revenues?
That is correct.
Okay. And we are now making those corrections and finding ourselves
Those
in-
corrections have been made.
Those corrections have been made, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Those corrections have been made in the reconciliation process. We have discovered that there is less monies now. The anticipation, looking at the history of how our property taxes are paid, is that we should get a large property tax sum paid to us, hopefully April. And we are looking at the history of how the district has operated over the last few years and when those revenues come in. And we've usually gotten one in January, and then there has been another one in May or April.
So I guess I have two questions about this. The first one is, how confident are we that we will not, that this will not happen again?
There's never any guarantee. However, I am optimistic that with a good, solid budget plan made by the board,
Oh.
we can avoid this.
The board does not make, I will state this real quick, the board does not make a budget. The board accepts the budget from the director, reviews it, and to make sure, approves it, and then make sure it's followed. While we may make recommendations to that budget.
I stand corrected.
And I'm sorry, I'm not chastising you interim director. What I'm doing is, for the record, stating that the board does not develop the budget.
As we develop a budget moving forward,
Right.
I am confident that if we do it in a conscientious manner, we can, in all hopes, avoid doing this again.
Okay. And we're getting help from
We are getting help from our CPA,
Ron John.
Ron Johnson,
Okay.
and I'm hoping that at the budget meeting that we can move forward with a good comprehensive budget that will allow us to not spend as.
Can I ask a part B of that question? Was there something that we should have caught that we didn't catch? Honestly.
Maybe by the sheer dollar amount, if you had had access to the anticipated levy deposits.
Okay.
Because it was a double entry of a levy deposit of a large sum. So maybe in there, but otherwise probably not.
There was not only the levy deposit of a large sum, there was another.
Okay.
So what happened was, to clarify for me.
Twice? The levy deposit was doubled?
The $212,000 was doubled, yes. And then there was another one, I believe as well, for about $10,000 that was double entered as well. And we have found, as we are going through several others that have been in $100 here, $200 there, there have been smaller amounts, but those two stand out as the biggest ones. Those problems have been addressed with our CPA's advice. We have been moving forward to remove those double entries and to reconcile. Unfortunately, in the process, we have found that we had believed there was more than there was.
So then my second question, see, that was like the B part. So the second question is, so you know how on your escrow statement, they calculate the least, like, here's the least amount. I recognize that we are not probably currently in a position to do this, and perhaps we've done this in the past, maybe we have not, but wouldn't it be great if we could do a similar calculation to understand where our lowest point is? Again, I think it might be a secondary activity or perhaps even a tertiary activity, but that we understand here's what, that we do that balancing, not just at this level, but here's what our balances we expect them to be.
My question is this, and it's something, unfortunately, I didn't realize until I went to this county auditor myself to find out what we've got and how because people in the past have accused us of rating the reserves where we haven't. And now we have to because of poor entry in database made by people who are no longer with us.
How much is in the reserves?
And we've got
So we're just over 75,000.
5,000, yeah. So we've got 75,000 in reserves until we take this out. But the county gives us the paperwork of what they get and where it goes every month. We need to start seeing that paperwork along with the rest of the financials and the minutes. Because not only is that for us to see, but I believe to truly be transparent.
Right.
People hound us about not being transparent, but it's stuff that the board didn't even know existed. That needs to be in there, not just for us, but for everybody. Because if I'm a taxpayer, that's there's my money. That's where it's going. We all get our property taxes, which, as Shane said earlier, it tells you where that money goes.
Yep.
Well, now that same taxpayer can look at what we get as a total for the pool for that month or that drop and see, what it is we're getting. That way, when we go out for our next levy, we can say, hey, look at those minutes and our budget and everything else. It's all in there for you to see. And I think that will help us also be able to do our job as board members to oversee the budget and say, wait a minute, that 200 and something that was in there twice shouldn't be in there twice. And it's right here. We should all easily catch that.
I made a note to add that to the packet starting next month.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Is that hard to do
No,
as
not at
I
all.
ask about that? Is
No,
that hard
not
to
at
do? Okay, thank
As
you.
long as we get an email from the county
In
in
time.
time, then we can just.
Okay.
And I would just even suggest, it doesn't necessarily have to be in a packet. It can just be forwarded to us.
Yes.
Right? It can be in the packet that gets printed, but it could just be forwarded to us at any time.
Yes.
Similar with what we said about the P&Ls.
Right.
And I've actually asked that Tony and from the county email me more frequently than just once a month. I get them about once a week.
Right on.
Awesome.
So,
I would like to thank you and the staff for all the work you've done to reconcile, to bring this to our attention, and more importantly, for finding the mistake, rectifying it, and now proposing a solution for something that did not happen while you were interim director. So thank you.
It has been a very difficult decision. We have looked everywhere to try and find how we could avoid doing this,
Okay.
honestly.
There's one, which maybe this isn't the time and place to talk about. The one thing going forward is, which you can tell me you want to talk about it later, is to define, what we expect of our director, how many hours, and just being here to oversee this, because that's what's going on here. Is we can't have all this oversight of the employees. We manage the director,
Yep.
right? And that director, whoever he or she is going to have to spend that time necessary to oversee this so that this doesn't happen again.
I am finding that this is
We need to
a full-time
define,
plus job.
we need to define how many hours we expect this individual to be here when going forward. We really do.
And I think we need to also be cognizant as we look at this, and I know this is not part of the motion unless there's objective. Can we continue talking about this? Because it's separate from the motion on the floor. Is there any objective by the board? No objections. All right. I think one of the things we need to be aware of when we talk for budget next month is also look at our staff.
I agree.
Because the last thing we want to do is what Ms. Pape made a public comment last month, and about good faith. And as we sit down and look at a director in good faith, what does the future of the district and the employees and our positions look like right now? So it's something to be thought about for that meeting. It's not relevant to this motion, but I just wanted to bring that out there. Thank you for letting me do that.
I think specifically it's actually job roles,
Yes.
right? It's not necessarily staff, it's not
True.
necessarily the who, it's the what.
That's true.
Okay, just, I mean.
Thank you for
and
clarifying.
Understanding where there might be adjustments that need to be made.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions about the motion for the reserves? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Any further budget items that we need to bring up under unfinished business? New business. One of the things we've done the past couple of months is Commissioner Hawley and myself have contacted and discussed how different pools operate, districts operate. Thank you, Commissioner Shingleton. Different districts operate. And one of the good suggestions we had is we all identified, and it was just identified with the motion made, the need for strategic and long-term planning. And part of that way forward is that was very appealing was to have a subcommittee look at strategic and long-term planning and get back with the board with the recommendations. One of the things that another district suggestion was made was that subcommittee not be led by a board member.
Here's a concept.
Yeah, and to have somebody from outside that has some expertise in the area
That is an awesome idea.
lead that subcommittee. I have a suggestion and have tentatively talked to somebody about the strategic planning. I will not mention that person's name yet until I get to go ahead from the board on whether or not we even want to pursue a subcommittee on strategic planning. What we'd ask this subcommittee to do, in my mind, is to come up with a short-term and long-term plan for the district and make those recommendations to the board for us to make a motion and to approve. And what we'd actually do is that subcommittee would consist of public members or tax people, go out and ask for people, ask for interest, and have a member or two from the board on it, maybe a member of the senior staff, and have that meeting shared. It would be an open public meeting, and not because it needs to be, but that way we can announce it and everybody knows about it. There would be in the spirit of being transparent to put that out there for everybody to see. Have the person chair the meeting and develop a way forward that would be brought back to the board. And that's basically what it is. So that's my suggestion.
So, well, I guess, do we need a motion for it?
We're actually, because it's on the agenda, we can actually talk about it.
Okay. So when you say strategic planning, is it financial? Is it programs? Is like, what's the scope of that planning?
The strategic planning part would be, what are we going to do as a district in the short term for like a short-term and long-term plan? The budget for that would always, as it does now, come from the director. The director can sit on that subcommittee to make, pardon me, I am so sorry, to make comments and suggestions that are relevant to the budget, because that would be the subject matter expert on that subcommittee for the budget. So the director kind of sort of has to be part of that subcommittee because they're the one that knows the budget.
Sure.
So yes, the budget would be part of that, but the budget is still, at the end of the day, as per our policies and handbook and position descriptions, that budget is short-term, long-term, capital, whether it's capital investment or line item budget, that is still developed by the director and approved by us. So that subcommittee may say, well, what do you think about this? And that director would have to say yes or no. So what they're looking at is long-term and short-term goals outside of the budget with reflection on the budget. They can have marketing ideas. They can have how are we going to do capital improvements in the short term and long term as far as what needs to be done, boiler repairs, roofing repairs. They can say, well, we're going to raise this much as in a fundraiser and then do matching funds here for what we donate. We can ask for other avenues to pursue that. And they can actually go assist the director with finding those funds elsewhere if that's an idea that subcommittee comes up with. Because we're not going to have all the answers, and this is tapping the public that we have here to help us with that and making the public more part of the district. So that's my suggestion.
I think it's an awesome suggestion.
I think so too.
I guess I just feel like it's really nebulous because, for example,
Okay.
so that's
Yeah.
where I'm trying to understand it.
Yeah.
Because what I heard was, I mean, when you look at a scope that includes things like capital improvements, which I would say absolutely is a strategic planning item, marketing suggestions, I probably wouldn't call that strategic planning.
True.
So I'm not.
No.
I'm trying to make sure that
No, you're
I
right.
understand the concept. Because I think in general, I think the more we can engage people, the more that we can get people involved and ensure that it's that the district reflects the priorities of the people. I mean, I think all of those are great things, and I think calling on people who have specific experience and who want to be helpful but aren't sure how to help, I think is wonderful. I'm just trying to understand what we think the scope of this activity is.
It's a good question, and I think for me, would be short-term and long-term goals for the district, to help us develop strategic short-term and long-term goals for the district. So it could be budget-related, you know? It could be line item budget items or capital improvement budget items, but not only saying, hey, we need to fix the roof.
So you mean
Thank you.
specific goals, not in terms of values, goals, mission?
No, I don't think we need a subcommittee to do our values, goals, and our mission.
I heard goals, and then I was like, goals for.
No, I'm thinking a short-term and long-term plan.
Okay, but we really mean if we're saying, okay.
We're talking about strategic planning.
I think the short-term part is catching me a little bit, because typically that would be tactical, no?
I'm thinking 3 to 5 years is short-term. Long-term would be 5 years plus.
That's great.
That's the way I look at strategic planning.
Fantastic.
Does that clarify it?
It does help. It does help.
Yes, because I get your point. Because
Yes.
I'm not talking about the management by objective or the we've got to fix this now type thing. I'm talking about the, what's our 3-year strategy? What's our 5-year strategy?
Wonderful. Okay, that's helpful. Yes.
So it's 3 to 5 years and 10 year. Is that what you said?
3 to 5 years and then out.
And 5
Oh,
plus.
and out.
No,
Okay.
5
that
out.
was, yes, that was the magic. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's really important to come up with that.
It
Especially when you
is.
look at the turnover of board members over the past 2 years.
Exactly.
And when you really look at this, to be honest, next November, 5 people have to decide that they want to keep doing this. You can have a completely new board. And to really, let's be honest, right?
Yeah.
And, it's like handing off the baton to whoever. But right now, we have no baton to hand off. And it's kind of, so I like it.
I think it's an awesome idea.
Now that I understand it, I like it.
Okay.
Do you need a motion?
I think that would be appropriate.
I move that you ask a civilian to set up a subcommittee.
That we set up a subcommittee.
Don't we mean just a member of the district or, yes?
You told me I wasn't in the Navy, and it's like, I forgot already.
The person, right, we don't want to discriminate. It doesn't have to be.
Okay, sorry. Well, actually, because if you ask an active duty member, they're just as likely to be deployed somewhere, right in the important part of it. So
I think
ask that you
we're mincing here.
member. I move that you ask a member of the public to set up a subcommittee on strategic planning that will develop short-term and long-term goals for the district for the board to consider. Is that what you wanted to hear?
No.
Okay.
Because actually,
Not set up.
we would, the only person that can set up a subcommittee is either me
Oh.
or we as a whole. So why you can,
Well, then you don't need a motion, do you?
They need to lead this subcommittee.
yes,
Oh.
That's what we're
Needs to
asking
head
for.
Yeah.
or
the approval.
lead the
Who's
subcommittee.
going to appoint yourself, Sean?
what's that?
Did you appoint the person?
What I would like to do is talk to the person and bring the person, get the approval from this person, because they are, I'm trying to watch my words.
Bad
'cause,
pronoun.
yes,
He or she.
they are trying to wait to hear what our decision is on going forward, whether or not they would like to lead it. And once we get them, her or him in place, then we can move forward with the rest of the subcommittee, I think.
Okay, so you don't need a motion. I withdraw my
No, as
motion.
long as there's support,
Okay,
I will start the work towards appointing a subcommittee, and I will report back at next month's regular meeting
okay.
on the viability of a chair for that subcommittee.
Okay.
And then I will appoint two or one members of the board to that subcommittee along with the director, and ask for people from the public, from the district that would like to volunteer.
Cool, agree.
All right, moving on.
I would just recommend
Yes,
you
sir.
do that, which maybe that's getting ahead of it, but to look at diversity.
I agree.
To really look at that, closely, so, thank you.
Yes, sir. Boiler and needed repairs.
Don't know what this is.
And it's this guy.
The shower boiler has some new parts, and I asked, well, how many parts does it have? And he said, there's about 50. 6 of them are new. So the rest of those parts are from 1994.
Holy cow.
It is rusting and dying a horrible death. That's what Matt said. And he said, and that's the shower boiler, so everybody knows how much people complain when they can't get a shower after their swim, and they're supposed to use the shower beforehand, and so that's really painful. But the cost, and he gave me range of costs that he wasn't able to get exact prices, but somewhere between $3,500 to $6,000 is what the shower boiler will cost.
How much? I'm sorry.
$3,500 to $6,000. So let's go high and say it's going to cost us $6,000 to replace the shower boiler. Then if it's less, we'll be pleasantly surprised.
Is this all of the showers? I'm sorry.
I think there's one boiler for both, correct?
Okay.
Yeah.
One for the men's and one for the ladies? Or one for both? Okay, gotcha.
It's one boiler, correct me,
For all of
for
the
all the
showers.
showers, correct?
Okay.
Okay, so it is one boiler for all the showers. So are we looking for funds for this now, or what?
It's not dead yet, but I believe it is something that we need to put into the possibility of needing to replace this in the next little while.
Define little while.
Well, that thing could go out anytime.
Will the 30,000 we just took out of reserves cover that?
Let me see whether we make the other important bills and payroll, and I think if there were something left over, that would be a possibility as well. I think with the boiler, we may be able to wait a month or two on that. Maybe longer.
Okay. I think we're gonna have to
It's-
right now.
Yeah, it's nothing,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not dead yet, but it needs to be in our
What troubles me, and I will say this, and this is no reflection on the interim director or actually Matt at all either. We have a shed out there that basically has rusted parts in it.
we do.
When I started as a commissioner here, almost 4 years ago now, we were told that shed had spare parts for everything in this building. if we're counting everything being doors for door chocks, then they were exactly right. If they were talking about viable replacements for anything in this building, they're not.
Unfortunately, they were not stored properly.
We live next to the ocean, hence the fact that we are an island. And so all of our fog has salt water in it, and it got into the wood shed through the non-sealed doorways and cracks, and they're rusted hulks. So all the money that we've spent in the past through good intentions to have spare parts on board, we no longer have spare parts.
That is correct.
And now we have equipment that is here since 1994 that we've had no capital improvement plan to fix. So part of that budget meeting needs to be a capital improvement plan to address these things. Can you please have, and I think that we may already have it, can you please have Matt identify what needs to be into a capital improvement plan or budget and give us a priority from top to bottom?
We've done that already.
Yeah.
Okay, can we include that in the budget meeting for next month?
can.
Thank
If
you.
that's the case, sorry, I've seen the list. Why are we talking about the item that's number 3 and not the item that's number 1? I just want to understand
Yeah.
that. So if it's prioritized, then why did this float to the top?
I think the reason that this is floated to the top is because we may lose the showers before we lose the heat exchanger. And I know that Matt has put the heat exchanger as number 1 because the reason that our pool temperature is fluctuating the way that it is because it is being manually controlled by Matt and has been manually controlled for the last several months, which is why it goes like this constantly.
Which causes the energy bills.
Which causes the energy bills to go through the roof. Therefore, updating the software at the tune of $5,500 to, it's around $6,000 to update to the new software. Unfortunately, that is what it costs. That would allow the computer to control our temperature instead of Matt having to control our temperature. And he and Stephanie have been sitting back there and it's still all over the place.
And I think then in that event, I think as we flesh out this, to me, this is a living list that we need to see moving forward. I think everybody would agree with that. But I think we probably then need to look at additional dimensions to that list to understand, because I think I think it's a wonderful start, and I'm so glad to see it. Well, I'm not, I wish it was a lot shorter. But it's better to see it here than to, oops, surprise, well, it's not really, right? But I think we probably need to add additional dimensions that help us either understand, and I don't know specifically what yet, but something like the impact of it not getting done, or what the replacement costs if it fails, or something else.
Yep.
But I think we can flesh it out over time.
We need to have Matt at that budget meeting.
I will ask him to be there.
Okay.
Because I think it sounds like there's additional data that we probably need to understand as we look at this list. And it's going to take a little bit of time, but that would be helpful for decision-making purposes.
I'm going to clean it up and I'll send it to everybody. And so if you have questions just looking at it that you think I want this also to say blah, 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 go back to Matt and say.
Well, I think that's fine, but I think, again, I think it's actually a living list that you don't own, that.
No, I was just going to clean it up because, and then give it to Matt.
Sure.
And it's then his, but I was going to send you the cleaned up one to everybody so you can ask the questions, because I had questions from it when I got it. I've now put that in, answer it because I sat down with them and we went over it.
Right.
And I put those answers in, so because I don't know anything about stuff like this, it's like I asked those questions. I don't know what else to ask.
And I think it'll just take some time, but I think if you look at the fact that it's third on the list, it just surprised me that that's the one we're talking about right now.
I assume it's because the heater, the showers weren't working for so long and people were pissed about it. Because, it's what's piled up to what's on the big complaint list this week. And then my guess would have been the showers not working.
The reason we need the list and the reason we need the strategic plan and the budget plan
Absolutely.
is because we need to stop managing by crisis.
Absolutely.
Exactly. No,
Word.
I wish
Yeah,
we could kidnap Marilyn from Anacortes.
I did that the other day.
But that would be illegal.
I know, but oh, that's right, forgot. I meant that in the nicest, sensible way and not really kidnapping. Besides,
So,
she
any
wouldn't
other
come.
boiler or needed repairs comments? Kayaks. Next thing on the new business.
So what are we doing with the older kayaks?
Okay, so with the kayaks, we need to declare them surplus if we want to get rid of them. The way Nathan got back to us after reviewing the law, could you get my list? She's going to get a list she got from Nathan Manny, our lawyer, on how to properly go about.
I believe it's Monty, by the way, but we met his brother today at the chamber meeting. And I believe he said it was Monty. I'm just putting it out there.
I'm not his brother, so I'm going to call him Nathan because that's what I've been calling him
There
for
we go.
3.5 years.
So.
Right. So we have to declare all the kayaks surplus property.
Not all of them, because we have some new ones back there.
To declare the to declare the old kayaks. Thank you. The old kayaks surplus property. That needs to be done with a motion.
So we would have them declared as surplus.
That's correct.
And then we can sell it, right? Is that what we're saying? Okay.
Then the value, the value of the boats, in the condition they are currently in, should be researched, which Pete is currently doing.
He is
Yes.
almost finished with that.
And pricing recommendations should be based on research.
Correct.
To be in compliance with the WAC and RCW, we have to do the research, and we have to sell those in compliance or in sealed bid with those recommendations for pricing.
But so how are we, because we're keeping some, right?
Yes, there's
okay,
new.
so how
It's
are we
not all the
identifying
kayaks.
the emotion?
It's all the older kayaks that Pete has identified through his research that we will identify as surplus.
Do we know the number of kayaks? I'm just trying,
No.
in terms of the motion to be specific.
Oh, it just needs to say that we declare the older kayaks that we are researching to be surplus property.
I would make a motion then that Pete Stevens determines which of the older kayaks should be surplus and that they be surplus.
Who has it?
Okay.
The list you presented to us.
Okay, hold on. Hey,
Does that make sense?
we're making a motion here. So I have a motion, say it again,
That we have Pete Stevens
identify.
identify which kayaks or of the older kayaks and that we have them declared as surplus. Make sense?
So we have a motion that Pete identify a list of the older,
Kayaks that need to be surplused
okay?
and that we have them declared as surplus.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. I'd like to throw something out.
Yes, please.
Pete's going to have to research and make the pricing recommendations. I think that we can maybe amend the motion to just to include all the older kayaks not recently purchased be surplused.
Okay. Then I would,
Go ahead.
I thought you said that he was gonna keeping a couple of them.
He's keeping a couple of them.
That was why I was asking about.
Yeah, we really need to know.
Would that we have to,
Yeah,
can
well,
identify which ones are going.
So we can't really make a motion here because we don't know how many kayaks are going. Do you know?
I want to say there's 5.
I need more than I want to say because that's how we get in trouble.
I mean, we have the paperwork that but we have the paperwork he brought to us, but I would feel more comfortable saying this many kayaks or.
Yep.
Yeah, 5 seems low to me, because I thought, I know he bought
Anyway.
$8,000 and
I can make this quick. So further discussion on the motion? All in favor?
no,
All against?
nay.
Nay.
My bad.
It unanimously fails. So to revisit the kayak issue next month. We can't get, Director, we can't get anything done until we got numbers.
Can I make a recommendation?
You may? That's why you're sitting up here.
Can we put it on the agenda for the special budget meeting?
It's a way to get money back.
It is.
It's an open public meeting, so we can make a motion during that if we put it on the agenda. So put kayaks on the budget meeting agenda. Therefore, we can bring it up.
I think you might have to advertise those two separate meetings.
Oh, yeah, there's a big,
It gets really weird.
no, there's a big, long process for this.
Well, I meant for voting at a workshop, it gets real weird.
We didn't say it was a workshop. We said it's an open public meeting.
All right, cool.
As long as it's in the meetings that we're going to talk about budget and we put kayaks as a line item, we have met the OPMA.
And I will have the information complete in its entirety.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, concerns about kayaks? Final discussion from the commissioners. Public comment? Next meeting is Thursday, April 16th, 2015 at 7 p.m. with a tentative date of April the 7th at 9 a.m. for a budget meeting with a kayak on it, kayak issue also on the agenda, which will be confirmed this week. Can I get a motion for adjournment?
I'll make a motion to adjourn, please.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Meeting is